Everyone doing? Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Everyone. Jeff's
Happy New
going to be
Year.
here. Jeff will be here. He was here. He's gone somewhere. I don't know where he's gone. But, he'll be back.
He's like, I need to go do my makeup. I'll be back.
I think it was after I
How
said
did he knows?
I think it was
Yeah.
after I said like
Or
how good you were looking. He felt, oh God, I gotta like that.
He's like, you know, yeah, I don't know if I can compete. I'm out. So
it's good to see everyone. First show of 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, run on.
Yeah. Happy New Year, everyone.
Cheers, salute.
Let's do the housekeeping before we carry on. There you go. As always, hey, we did get that thing. Remember last time you were on, Sarah? Like you've got to get up to was it 2000?
Yeah.
Before
We did it.
We did it. Yeah. It's a milestone in this channel's history. Yeah, there you go.
Cheers.
Cheers, Vincent. How you doing? Yeah. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Sarah's back.
Hi.
Ebro's back, looking better than ever.
Yeah.
Better than ever.
Better than ever.
Know, the people wanted more, and I brought more. And it looks better. I'm here.
Bigger, brighter,
Right.
better than ever.
Better than ever.
Friday, better lit. You know, it's gonna be.
There you go. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
You, Scooter's here. Yee. Bill's here. Bill Chamberlain's here. The Pissed have a new album coming out. Everyone buy the new Pissed album when it comes out. It's coming out pretty soon, right? Hey, Pam's here. Hey, there you go, Pam. Hey, my Mike's here. There you go, Mike. Yeah, we're kind of stalling for time here, right?
Yeah.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah.
We're actually warming up backstage by like talking about Iron Maiden, right?
Yeah.
Hey, and
Remembering
fond memory.
Hey.
Here he is.
I'm
There he
backstage.
is.
Am I on stage?
You're on
You
stage.
are.
Which
You're there.
Right.
way to the stage.
Front and center.
You had to make an entrance.
Back. I'm
There
back.
he is.
He's back. A suicidal maniac. There you go.
All right.
Don't go anywhere. Stay exactly where
All
you are.
I seriously, I hit a button.
I'm
I hit a
guessing,
button.
is he gonna stay on or no?
Yeah.
You know.
Hit a
Golden
button
rule.
and
Golden rule. Don't hit any. Don't.
Yeah,
hit any
I
Keep your hands where we could see them at all times.
Yeah, don't touch anything.
it instantly booted me over to Safari for some reason. I have no idea.
Oh
Ruined
God, we hate Safari. Like,
Yeah.
Don't go on Safari.
Yeah.
Literally.
The only button that he wants you to smash is that like button.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's all.
exactly.
And the subscribe.
Yeah, and the bell. You gotta click the bell. So
Yes,
you get the
good
update.
point, Jeff. I've got to add that.
Yeah.
What do you do with the bell? You ring it, ting it, ding it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
You
like
need,
the
you
disco
need an
song.
air
Disco
horn.
song,
Air
I
horn
know.
sounding whoop, whoop, like
Yeah,
that.
there you go. Gotta like the bell. Notification bell, right? That's what that thing is.
Yeah.
Lets you know when an episode's coming up. Everyone knows that it's 10 p.m. Friday night. So, but anyway.
Yeah.
All right, shall we get going?
Everyone
Everyone knows. Everyone knows.
I've moved on to my actual boozy beverage.
What are you drinking there? What do you got?
This is a Maplewood rum punch. It's very tasty.
Ooh. Is it nice?
I've got a microbrew called Pepsi Zero. It's very hoppy. It's a little too hoppy.
I got not my usual, but I got my my Japanese.
I love that can.
It's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
I've got a T-shirt with this on it. Actually, it's so good. It's beautiful. Japanese wheat beer, my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for watching last year. Thanks for watching today. And as we go through to this year, I can't say 2024. I'll say this year. Lots of great shows coming up. So make sure you tune in every week. We've got 5 records each. We're going to have a good time talking about 20 or more records, depending if anyone's like, well, depends, right? If anyone has got like a sneaky way of like showing 3 records before they show their actual. Which is usually,
I learned that from you.
Which is one of my tricks. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'm going to go back to like the first wave of Japanese hardcore for my first pick.
All right.
We're going back to like 82, 83, for this band. They only put out 2 records when they were around. They were around for a very short time. Their first LP is a classic. It came out in '83.
I think I know what you're talking.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
I have a guess because something new just came out. So
exactly. And
I want to get it. Shit.
You will get it. It will be yours. I know a man who's going to get some in the States. So I'll let him know. So first LP came out on Dogma Records in 1983, the same year as Gizm's Detestation.
Okay.
They've just unearthed some unreleased live recordings. They put those recordings out on record. Ebro, what are we talking about?
You're talking about the Comes.
I am indeed.
Live.
Nice.
However, what is it like? Something. Yeah.
Here it is.
Ballroom of the Living Dead.
Ballroom of the Living Dead literally came out 2 days ago here in Japan through like Bass Records, and the Fudo Brain put it out. They made a new label for this called Emotional Market. The label's called and I was thinking, why is it called Emotional Market? And I remember that was what the Comes used to call their gig like series.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So that's why they called it Emotional Market.
That's all. How's it sound? Does it sound good?
I'm going to get to this. So I played it last night for the first time. I'm a huge like Comes fan. That first album, I love it to death. Yeah. And I was nervous, like I thought, oh God, how good or how bad is this going to be? Right. It's pretty good. Like it's completely like listenable. Awesome. They've probably done some work on the sound and everything. Yeah. 2 shows, like one from 82, and the first show is like Gauze's gig, right? Disinfection showed up, and it was number 6. So we're going like way back to the start of like Gauze's, gig series. It's pretty cool. You can even see it. I think you can see it. Actually, it's like it's got Gauze like written on the amp there. Yeah, right on. So this is a nice piece of history recorded in Tokyo, Shinjuku. It's pretty long. It's like 17 songs. Yeah. I love it. It's good. I love it. It's good, man. You can feel the energy of the performance, man. It's like it's amazing, in fact. Yeah.
Is it the same songs as the No Side record?
Good point. So you get all of those songs plus a bunch more. So there's like unreleased stuff on here too, right? But,
nice.
But there was like a double live CD that came out.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Right. But these recordings are not on those CD. This is like pretty like unreleased recordings.
And doesn't it come with like a booklet? Like I was seeing something like this.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Meatloaf. There it is. There you go.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like
it's a fanzine. The best thing, there's a bunch of photos, and they won't probably show up very well. The best thing I like for me is all the old gig flyers in the back. Yeah. So cool. You just see these lineups. Man, let's go back to the beginning. Yeah, I think this is their first gig. I don't think you can see it. Like it says Emotional Market, right? Yeah. Emotional Market, Punk Party. Awesome. Gizm, Gauze, The Execute, The Comes, man. Like 1980.
Yeah, that would have been ill.
It would have been a good gig, right?
Yeah, man. Right.
You've even got the one where like Chaos UK, they play with Chaos UK, Systematic Death, of course.
Yeah.
Was Chaos? Were they the first of those UK bands to tour over there?
See, they've kind of like managed to convince everybody that they were, but in fact they weren't.
Oh, who was the legend lives on until right now?
GBH.
Oh, okay.
But I think the thing is, GBH went through like a major label. Whereas Chaos UK went through Selfish Records, so it's like it's like the first like DIY tour of Japan was like Chaos UK. So
yeah, and I can see that. Bit of
difference, right?
Differentiating that way. Yeah. But I mean, Chaos UK though too was such a big influence or whatever. Of like,
I mean, bigger than GBH, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, if you can point to like Confused and like Disorder and Chaos UK and shit, just like that crazy noisy sound or whatever was such a big thing or whatever.
I think.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, if you're not a Comes fan and you've never heard the Comes, don't buy this.
Right.
If you're a Comes fan, buy it.
Get it.
And I think Tom from General Speech told me.
Oh, is he gonna? Cool.
He's getting some copies, so
awesome.
Keep an account. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be expensive though, you know, like these days, you know, with everything.
Well, I mean, anymore, like just regular regular records.
Or as much as you like.
Yeah, regular records.
It was past 10 minutes. It was past 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. I want to make
everybody can fuck shit piss cunt the way through the rest of the show.
I think like
like a virtual swear jar.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be a millionaire if I had one of those. Jesus.
Yeah.
Right.
Material world.
I don't even know what the hell I was gonna say, but
yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
So Bill, Bill, we there you go. Material World in New York. Hi, James. Material World in New York has them. Robert's ordered his copy. It's on Emotional Market, Bill. It's just a new label, but it's basically Bass Records. It's the main label behind it. But I think it's kind of cool. They put like Emotional Market like as a tip of the hat to that old like gig series. You know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't want to say like side 2 is a little later. Side 2 is like from 83.
Okay.
The recording is a little bit better. Like Chitose's vocals are a little bit higher in the mix. But they're both good. Yeah. So yeah, if you're a Cums fan, definitely pick this up.
Love them.
I got one like minor complaint, and it's kind of nitpicking a little bit. I don't like the cover very much. Like I like
it.
I like the photography. I don't like what they've done with the photograph.
Right. I think it could maybe have been, like maybe not as, I don't know, throwing like the colorful kind of shit all over or whatever. But like, you know, but
I think they
no, I mean,
but
I mean, it's like it's
the cover. It looks like the cover of Hit Parade or something. It looks like a metal magazine.
I know.
Maybe that's why I like it. I don't know.
So they're trying to bridge the early Cum stuff with the later Cum stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
the CD has a different design, different photo, but the same kind of, and a different logo and everything. Like,
that's a cool photo. Though. Like that photo is great, though.
The photo's amazing. I'm not,
Yeah.
But I think they should have just like kept it black and white, like like the no side cover, maybe.
Well, or that CD that you're talking, that double CD had like black and white photos of whatever from those shows and stuff. So,
but anyone, if you're a Cums fan, definitely check it out.
Yeah,
absolutely. There you go. That's my first pick.
All right.
There you
go. Okay. Short, sharp. I have a 7-inch. I don't know if I talked about 7 inches last time. Out Cold, Planned Accidents. Out Cold is a Massachusetts band, sort of Bostonian area. They have a lot of records, but this one is late in the catalog. It is so good. Every song on this is a banger. It is incredibly aggressive. The drumming on this record is phenomenal. The very last song is called Help Me to Forget. And it is you just like are getting bashed over the head with this. I mean, if you are in a bad mood, put this on. You will not regret it. And there's really not anything bad in the Out Cold catalog, in my opinion, but I'm like a super fan. But this later stuff just sounds really good. Like the production is really nice. Everything sounds very clean. I mean, they have some old recordings where you can't really, it's all great and all the songs are great, but it's a little muddled. But this is just really, really fantastic. And it's awesome to see after such a long, history of being a band that they still can produce like this way, way, way late in the career. I never got to see Out Cold, which hurts my heart, but a lot of people said they were pretty great live, and I don't know if anyone's ever seen that live from Russia. You got to see them too?
They came to Japan once. I saw them in Osaka. They're really amazing. Yeah.
There's a live in Russia, like you can get it on YouTube, but we actually have a DVD of it from 100 years ago. That's it's like Out Cold behind the Iron Curtain or something like that, and it's like mind blowing. So. Yeah, anyone who likes hardcore, like American hardcore, that is just really standing the test of time and is fucking awesome. Someone I was talking to recently, Will, who plays drums in my other band, was like, if Negative Approach kept going and got super good at their shit, this is what they would have sounded like. So
Right.
yeah.
Huh, I kind of thought they were like Poison Idea sounding.
Some of their songs do sound like that.
I didn't think they sounded like either of those bands personally.
No.
But, no, I mean, they're like they're a hardcore band or whatever. Like I mean they're good. But I'm not gonna compare them to those. Just
it's real like bare bones, right? Like real like stripped back.
Well, no, it is pretty stripped down. I mean, well, and especially at the time, like in the 90s or whatever, they were playing like like a more traditional like 80s style hardcore at a time when a lot of bands were doing that. So it was cool that they kept on doing that and stuck to what they were doing or whatever and didn't try and
that's why I got into them was they were one of the only bands playing like that in 1993 or 94 and so my friends and I at the time we would put on Permanent Twilight World, that album,
that's a great record.
Yeah, that's good.
We would put on that record and get really drunk and kind of stereotypically stage dive on the couch to that record. Yeah. I never followed their career later on, but the stuff from the early to mid 90s is incredible, I thought.
So Sarah, is that when the original Mark was the original? Well, the main
Mark was not the first vocalist. So Permanent Twilight is the first record that he sang on, and so he is the singer on Planned Accidents, the one that I just showed. And then the very last LP, and I'm totally like blanking on the name of it, but the first singer came back after Mark Sheehan died, and he sang, which the songs are still really great, but it's a hard pivot. I mean, once you're like, okay, I remember what he sounds like and whatever, and like kind of like he did not play with that band for a really long time, so that when to be great, you can't even touch it. I think all the other songs are great with the other singer. I think his name's Kevin, great too, but this is just different.
So. I'm glad I want to clear that up. I personally I can't get along with like the later stuff with Kevin, but I love all the Mark stuff. Just a little bit high pitched like vocalists, like a little bit. I don't know.
But so pissed, my God, those vocals. Just.
You mean
really
like
good.
King Diamond high pitch?
No, not that high. Not quite that high.
No.
Just
this
like
is
in the higher. The Kevin guy, right, has like a different vocal style, a little bit to Mark, right?
Yeah.
On the latest.
Yeah.
So.
It's kind of a big departure from what Mark Sheehan sounded like. So it's sort of like, oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah. They should have just maybe did a different band with that guy, and it maybe would have been more. I get it that those were all Mark Sheehan songs, and he actually sort of, I guess, voiced that that Kevin could sing them, but
I have a question for like the millions of punks around the world. Why did everybody not care enough about this band, like when they were a band? Well, I mean,
they didn't tour a lot in the U.S. That's one thing,
right?
And they were not. It was not cool to play hardcore when they were around.
Or that
style,
like a more traditional style hardcore. But I mean, also too,
like Shades Apart or I don't know, whatever crappy music.
Well, hold on. I like the first Shades Apart LP is really good. Actually, it's sounds more like it's more like Who's Your Do style and shit. That's not. I guess because they were around in the 80s, that like, I don't know. It was different than, I know what you're talking about, but I don't really,
I meant to say Sensefield. I meant to say Sensefield.
What's that?
I meant to say Sensefield, the Revelation.
Well, Sensefield, like it's kind of, but I don't know.
How do we get from Out Cold to Sensefield in like?
It's all written tapestry music.
That train went right off the track, though. Right. But they weren't playing a style that a lot of people liked for a very big part of their, the first half of their career.
Yeah, I feel like I was lucky to see them. They came to Japan and they were they played with Warhead actually in
that's cool.
In Osaka. Good show.
Right on.
All right.
I feel like they toured in Europe a lot, and I think they were on Kangaroo, right? So I think that they were great. They were big in Europe, but not as well.
I think the thing is that like, I think some people bands get into the like they toured Europe or whatever, because Europe, you would actually get fed and have a place to stay. And like, so if you can kind of get on that, some bands just started doing that, because like touring in the States is real, hit or miss or whatever. Yeah, in terms of like shit working out. So I guess, maybe because foreign, like Kangaroos putting their stuff out, that it was just easier for them to do tours like that. I don't know, because it's easier to get over there, even though you could get it in the US too. But I don't know. It just who knows? It's like it now. If it's weird, like talking about shit in the 90s, because now it's like it feels so long ago.
It feels like the 60s, right? Almost.
Right. I mean, people are like, well, we're talking about, like if we were talking about shit from the 60s and then just the same, like
right,
or whatever, like it would have felt like, oh yeah, of course shit was different then. It's like, so now, it's just it was a different time. So
So this is actually on Acme Records, which is their drummer's record label, and it's from 2005. So, but they did do a lot of stuff on Kangaroo.
They did,
probably when they were in their most active phase, I think.
Man, Henk Schmidt, the guy from man, he was such like he was like very like keep it old school hardcore, like keep it like, he was like so like, it was great though. It's like he was like just like on one road, and he kept to it, right? He never deviated. It's like just raw, stripped back, like old school hardcore, like all the way.
That's what they sound like.
right.
They were a good partnership. Okay.
All right. Ebro, what's your first pick?
All right. So, so I'm keeping it all Chicago.
Oh yeah,
because this week I was listening to all Chicago shit. So,
all right.
I was really rude about that record the other day.
So again, I love this record, and I get what you were saying, Mike, and like I get it. But what? But
wait, what was that? I didn't know what the complaint was.
What's that?
What was your complaint, Mike?
Oh, I didn't like it on the day that I talked about it. So
well, no, I think as you were saying, you were remembering it as being like kind of more of a melodic, like hardcore or whatever.
Yeah,
and I was like, so, and it is kind of melodic in a sense, but it is also a straightforward hardcore record to me. And also, I mean, that's the thing though. It's like growing up around here, like getting that when I was a kid. It's like I love these fucking songs and like seeing them live, and it was fun. It was just, I mean, it was just the again, it's maybe like too, I don't know, like it is just kind of straightforward hardcore or whatever, even though there's kind of like some metal, some kind of melodic parts and some metal flourishes and shit, just because that was the way, people were kind of doing it in the mid 80s or whatever. But no, I mean, I get it. Like, I'm not bringing this up to be like,
I was fun. I was like, oh God,
you're wrong. Even though I did jokingly say wrong when you said
take
that.
Me to task.
No. It's cool.
Yeah.
But it's also like, so I don't know. It's something that I grew up listening to or whatever. Like, so that this one that I brought up was actually Joe, the bass player. He put it out again with like extra songs. They had the lyrics and shit like that. So it's cool. I mean, I still have my original record or whatever too, but it I don't know. It's just to me, it's like just a classic hardcore record. They toured all over the place. They were good at they made sure that people wore the shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you see my friend Pete's post about it? They kind of bullied him into like buying it.
Oh, so I saw that or whatever, and I was gonna be like, well, why didn't you mosh harder then? No, just joking. Like,
well, I mean, it was such good intellectual property that there was a court case over it.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I mean they had. Yeah, the band split up or whatever.
Yeah.
And they went their different ways. But our R.I.P. Eric, their guitarist, he passed away a couple of years ago. But I don't know. It's just like it's good memories associated with that and with seeing them and just hardcore you know, as it used to be a while ago or whatever. So
You know what? I think my memory played tricks on me with that record because I hadn't heard it right for a decade, and then I bought that reissue. I played it, and I remembered it as being like a really like hooky, big, like melodic.
Well, I remember you were saying you were thinking it was like Dag Nasty or something.
Like but the good like and like just I was like, where did all those hooks and like melodies go that I remember? And it's like I don't know why that happened. Maybe I just got it when I was
maybe you got it confused with something else.
Maybe I think it was like I think they kind of got lumped in with 7 seconds and stuff at the time, right? Maybe I don't know.
Well, so I mean, it like so the all right, so the original because it's basically the record is 2 different like sessions they did, and one was like with the original singer, which Matt is saying, how's the demo 7-inch? The demo 7-inch is awesome because it's got also it's like the other songs that the original singer sang on that aren't on this LP or whatever. So basically, it's like they mixed in between that and then Joe sang on like the other songs or whatever, and so it's all mixed together. So it's those 2 different sessions. Like one was 85 and one was 86. I think it came out at 86, and it just it like the original singer had more of kind of like a Kevin Seconds kind of higher, more melodic. So maybe that's why you did that.
I kind of like. I like the other singer better, just because I kind of found the vocals on Problems eventually started to grate on me a bit because he was a bit. But it's a really raw recording. It's like a super raw sound. Like
I think
for a record that like was as mass produced and popular as it is, it's pretty fucking raw. And like there's only like a few kind of like metally solos on it. It's like
well, I mean, so he like Eric threw in some kind of metal, and like and when they did the second LP, which I also love, like they kind of went even more because that was like Eric's version of the band or whatever, a little more metal and shit. But like I don't know. I think it's like the song. They're all very good musicians, so it's like there's really cool like bass parts and guitar parts and drum parts, and I just think it's the songs are catchy. They get stuck in your head, and also I've been listening to it for most of my life, so it's kind of like it's a classic record. I'm not trying to like again take you to task.
I'm gonna go listen to it again. It just surprised me. This isn't the record that I remember listening to like in like the late 80s. It just sounded so different to me to what I remember.
Well, I mean, it's more like I think the way that you were thinking of it, it's more hardcore than that, right? It's more,
which is fine, but it wasn't. It just it tricked me.
That's
like,
not what you're.
Wasn't what I was expecting. Yeah,
I think that's the thing too, is that if you have like expectations of like, oh, if this is gonna be like, Dag Nasty or something that's like more like a melodic hook. Even though I think these songs have hooks and they're catchy, but it is more like it is kind of a mid to late 80s hardcore sound or whatever. It's like it's got more, even though there is a little bit of that rawness, there is kind of more metal flourishes and shit like that. So but
my homework. Re-listen to Life Sentence.
Yeah. So listen to it again and like it this time.
I'll like it this time.
The relitigating has worked, Ebro. Good job.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird. I definitely never owned that record until recently. I would have gotten it in a tape trade, and it would have been on tapes with like 7 Seconds and Dag Nasty and Government.
Maybe you mixed some of the songs together, and you're like, "Oh, that was Live Sense."
In your head,
I just kind of lumped them in with that, and I was expecting to hear like Government Issue, or Dag Nasty, like
or Dag Nasty Field Day, or like
You mean you mean this one?
Yeah.
And the next time you make pie, I will be home for a slice.
Yeah. Right. I was going to share that tonight because it's a funny story, but I won't punish everyone with my Dag Nasty.
Punish us. What?
Maybe it'll be
the whole reason we're doing this is to talk about this shit. So what's up?
Maybe if we have a bonus round, I'll bring it up.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, not to talk about Field Day a little bit more or whatever. It's like, I fucking hated that record when it came out, but like now I can, at least Trouble is I can hang with or
Trouble
whatever.
is amazing.
And actually the band Field Day which is Peter Cordner and Doug Carrion and then some other dudes or whatever, they played here. They were fucking great, man. They were awesome. They were so good. And they didn't play anything off of Field Day.
There's a couple of like really like we're going to talk about Field Day now, right? There's unbelievably bad songs on that record.
Yeah.
Unbelievably atrocious, but there's also some really good songs that I've got.
No, I mean, and I think the thing is that like it's probably live too. It would come across better.
There was
but
the
they didn't
production
play
choices, like the drum sound is like that huge, like fucking booming.
It's just like hey, we're trying to make it. Yeah, make it record in the late 80s,
they telegraphed it in their lyrics. They wanted to write songs, powerful songs that will make them money,
put us on the
charts. Because they were on the beach and they were eating Mexican food.
I've got the sun. I've got. Hey, if you can remember the lyrics of a record from 1988, it's got to be. It says something.
Exactly.
Right.
Like,
it's got to be a classic. Like,
it's got to be a classic.
Yeah, it's definitely a fucking earworm if you're remembering all the lyrics, right? Like,
anyway,
I would be remiss if I didn't mention there's another man's pants in my house.
Again? All right, Jeff.
Okay. All right, go on.
So I'm gonna bring down the IQ a good amount with this one.
Is that possible?
Yes, it can get dumber, and it will. All right, the Bullsh 7-inch on Blood.
Oh yes, this is a good record.
So yeah, this well, take a look at the genius cover art. The name of the record is Tardington.
Oh, I thought it was Fartington for a second.
It could have been.
The song title, Bobby Papa, Tardington, Pootuling. I don't know. Anyway, basically, it's people. I think is it people from Perverts Again and Vanilla Poppers and Brewster and basically it's a Cleveland band, but it sounds like that French oi band. Is it? You pronounce it Rixie? Or Reeks, or whatever. Reeks, yeah. It sounds like Reeks, but with a made up language, and it really is a made up language.
It is.
They made up just completely nonsense words, but really catchy songs. Really
That's
catchy.
Awesome.
It's very good, very competent oi. Like the drumming is like super on point and like it's like a really good oi record, but incredibly stupid at the same. Well, it's like they took oi.
not like the intelligent oi records.
Does that make it genius? Does that make it genius? You know, two positives, two negatives make a positive, or whatever. But I saw them play live once, and so they have three singers. They have three singers that all sing in unison.
Yeah,
so
this made up language.
No variation at all. There's no reason for them to have three singers at all. And they were the entire band was dressed as beekeepers. It was incredible. So if you have not checked out Bullsh, absolutely check it. I think they have a tape. I believe they have a demo tape and then this 7-inch. They really should have like a triple album or something because that's how good it is.
When did it come out?
This came out, I think, probably about 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, because they played one of those horrible.
The players in that band and everybody who is kind of like associated with Perverts Again, Cruel Sir, Noso, they are so good. I mean,
they're great.
They're excellent musicians. They are out of their minds. They're Cruelsters. I don't know if you like follow their Instagram page, but it is hilarious. Yeah. Like they just they get everybody. It's just so funny. Like I really love that Cleveland and Ohio just has had this history of like committing these types of things to vinyl for all the rest of us to like eventually get to and be like, oh my God. Because people aren't that brave.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've been seeing just completely ridiculous, but also great bands like that come out of Cleveland for 30 years now at this point. Yeah. And I believe Bullsh were, I think, fairly short-lived. I don't think they've been around for a while, but I think they're around from probably 2016, 2017. It was whatever year we went to. I went to Horrible Fest with you and Brian.
Yeah. Excellent.
But anyway, yeah,
Pick.
that's my first contribution. The Bolsh 7-inch.
Beautiful. It's everything. It's all new to me. I'm intrigued. Yeah.
Well, Noso is, I think Daniel showed it the last time he was on here. It was like a new Sorry State release.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
All right. Oh, my turn again, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, talking of Dag Nasty in 1988, Field Day. I'm going back to 1988, and I have a reason why I'm going to show this record. I'll explain it as quick as I can. So, my friend Jesse has this like Instagram thing he does called "This Day in Japanese Hardcore History." I don't know if anybody follows it.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna find
So
that.
he posts a gig flyer every day of the week from like the same date from like going back to like, you know, the 2000s, the 90s, and like not the 80s yet, but he's got like this huge collection of flyers. So anyway, the thing is though, in New Year in Japan, we don't really have any gigs from like the first of the month to about the 4th. It's like a real quiet time. Everyone's on vacation, nothing's going on. And so because it's like the year of the dragon, he's like, okay, I'm going to post records that have dragons like on the cover, like Japanese punk records that have dragons on the cover. And it so happened that like he posted one of my absolute like favorites, and it just made me like put it out again and listen to it. And I love it as much as I did back then. And it came out in 1988 on Selfish Records.
I know what it is.
What? What is it?
The Nightmare 7-inch.
Actually, that's a good guess. It's not. It's a 12-inch.
Okay, my bad. All right.
And it's one that, like, whenever I say that this is like one of my favorite like Japanese hardcore records of all time, I kind of get like the life sentence treatment in the fight. Like it's like boo, you know, like nobody ever agrees with me, and it's like, oh god, that wouldn't even make my top 20. But for me, it's like it's top 5 maybe.
Okay.
You want to have another guess, Ebro?
I'm drawing a blank for
all right. Okay, let's have a look. Dragon on the front, 1988.
Dragon on the front is the thing I'm stuck on, and I don't know.
Also has a kickboxer on the front. If that's it.
It has a what?
A kickboxer.
Okay.
Oh wait.
That was a huge hint.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Also, Kick Rock, right? Yeah.
Poison, the original Poison from Japan.
Yeah.
Kick Rock, man. I've loved this record since the first time I heard it. Oh man, it's a classic in my opinion. It's like the funny thing's like talking about like 1988. This confuses me again because it doesn't sound like it came out in 1988. It sounds like more like the earlier wave of like Japanese hardcore in a way. It's like it's totally like influenced by Gas Tank. There's a little bit of Jism in here, and it was weird. It's like 88, but it's like it came out in 88. But yeah. I don't know if anybody is familiar with this record, but it's like
I've seen it before because the cover is extremely eye-catching. Yeah,
it's so like Japanese, and I can't really explain what that means. But like when I think about like what was going on in other countries in 1998, there was like nothing at all.
Nothing like that.
It's like it really goes back to like the old days of like underground, like Japanese heavy metal from when like bands like X Japan were playing in like the same places as all the hardcore bands. And it's like very metally, but in a good way. The singer's a fucking singer. Like he can sing like really, really well. There's a ballad on it with a whistling solo. You're sold now.
No, I want to know about the whistle.
It's like,
I will say I didn't realize that dude was a kickboxer though. I don't know why.
Here he is there.
Oh, that
It's funny. Little kickboxer.
Yeah, the little.
And then he's right there, like face to face. This is the singer. Yeah. The singer's like a professional kickboxer. So
right on. Okay.
Kick Rock, right
on.
Kick Rock, right? Like that French label. That's where they got their name from. Is from this record, right?
Yeah.
Kick Rock
Is it like Judas? Is it like Judas Priest sounding or something like that?
No, it's totally like it's like so Japanese. It just sounds like early like Gas Tank. If you like,
Like with like weird like
woo, like weird vocal stuff, like Gizm did,
Oh,
like
yeah.
little vocal effects and stuff,
Right.
and like just stuff that like nobody else was like doing in like 1988. And
Yeah, I've
Amazing.
never, I've seen that cover, but yeah, I've seen the cover several times, but I've never heard it before ever.
yeah, you know, it's not everyone's favorite, but man, I love it. And you know, big Death Side connection. Like Chelsea was the original guitarist. Chelsea from Death Side was the original guitarist. The original drummer was the original Death Side drummer. I know, it's just like such a
it's a good record.
It's not everyone's favorite, I know, but it's the year of the dragon.
Now I'm waited. Did this Nightmare 7-inch come out in '88 or did it come out later?
Came out maybe later, I want to say
1990, maybe.
Yeah, for me, like
Nightmare. When did give notice of Nightmare? I thought it came out in the '80s though too.
Let us know in the comments. Like for me, it kind of like, to me, like Nightmare is like the second wave of like.
Yeah, I always thought of Nightmare as like early '90s band.
But like, I think you're right though. I think Give Notice came out like it.
Yeah, when the first records like those like I mean they obviously stuck around.
They've been around, but I think the first record,
I might even still be around now. But like they I could have swore that the fucking 7-inch came out in the late '80s. Now maybe it didn't. I don't know. So someone with Discogs is gonna be like, nope.
Yeah, let us know. We're not gonna look it up now. Let us know.
Discogs says 1990.
Okay,
there you go. I thought so. You know what? I did think so. But like, it's so funny. This to me sounds like it sounds like 1985, early 1986 to me. So it's just, I don't know. I actually did look up what other hardcore records that came out in 1988. Do we really want to go through all that? It's quite funny though, because like you got Doom, War Crimes, Napalm Death, like Suicide, Gorilla Biscuit's first record.
Yeah.
My point is, it's like so like far removed from like what this band was doing.
Well, I mean, anything happening in the U.S. too at the time was like, you know, like the shit that was happening like in Europe or whatever. Japan was much more like, oh, this is crazier sounding or whatever. Than, you know. So I mean, outside of like the Infest 7-inch came out in I think '88 or whatever. So, like that's more like, you know, when we were looking for like more like hardcore, like ultra hardcore kind of sounding shit, but like all the crazier shit was like happening in Europe or you know, Japan.
It's almost like they weren't afraid. It's like, fuck it, we like heavy metal. We're just gonna put this, like, heavy metal.
We're gonna put it in here. Yeah.
And whistling. Name me another hardcore.
we like whistling. Gorilla Biscuit.
I think the Meat Puppets have a song on their second album that is all whistling.
They do, but it's not a ballad though.
No, that's true. It's that makes the difference. The ballad part.
Yeah. Anyway, if you haven't heard Poison, Kick Rock, you like Japanese hardcore from the 80s, check it out. It's one of my favorites. That's what I'm going to say on that topic.
Very nice pick.
Thanks. All right.
So a few weeks ago, I think it was Mikey maybe. Talked about Double Negative, and he talked about The Wonderful and Frightening World, and this is where they got the name from, The Wonderful and Frightening World of the Fall. So they legitimately are like, yes, we stole that exactly from them, which I love about Double Negative, that they would do that. This is a great record, but this is not the record I'm going to talk about. What I felt like to a different fall record that's called Perverted by Language. This is my favorite fall record, and I really like the fall. Originally came out in 1983, but this is like a 2017 repress by somebody, I don't know, Sanctuary Records Group. The Fall is a post-punk band for those who are unfamiliar. They were a band for 42 fucking years, which is totally mind-blowing to me, but I looked it up today and I was like, how could that be? I know this much of their really giant catalog. The early records, though, are pretty well known. A lot of punks do enjoy this because the first couple records are definitely in that, you know, in that ilk. A very interesting time because around this time, Marky Smith, who a lot of people are familiar with him because, you know, he's just been countercultural icon for years, met and married a woman named Brix, who was actually from Chicago. And they became like the it couple in Manchester. And apparently the band The Smiths is actually named after them. So
wow.
That's the rumor. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I had heard. But Perverted by Language is a really great record because the songs on it go from like weird, mellow to straight up disturbing, like back to just like something just like kind of a really great pop song, you know. And they had 2 drummers at this time, which was not like super common. And on this record, the recordings, and you could really hear both drummers, and you could really hear what's going on, and I like really love it. And typically when I see bands with 2 drummers, I'm like, no, not for me. But this is a great record. It's a great pick. And I'm kind of surprised no one's ever talked about The Fall, but I looked it up on the list. Nobody's talked about it yet.
Wow.
So anyways, that's my segue from Double Negative to The Fall and to showing you 2 records.
I'm ashamed that I have not really gotten that deep into the Fall catalog because I love Live at the Witch Trials.
It's such
Live at the Witch Trials, like the sound on that, I guess inspired the first the Germs GI album, and I
could see that.
Yeah, the drum sound on Live at the Witch Trials is so incredible that I feel like a complete Nimrod that I've never really gone beyond that because that is such a great record. You ever hear the Blue Orchids, which is ex-members of the Fall?
Yes.
Yeah, I have more Blue Orchids records than I have Fall records, which it just seems kind of silly. So I'm snoozing on the job here.
I thought so too. I thought someone had showed.
Oh.
Maybe it just didn't get listed.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's Live at the Witch. Well, yeah.
Witch Trials.
It's not.
Yeah.
Is that technically The Fall?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's
Okay, it's The Fall. Okay.
Well, Witch Trials is the Adrian Borland band.
That's what I always get confused with. That's it. Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
So there were 2 brothers in the band at this time, the Hanley brothers, and they actually have a podcast, which is wild to me that I could sit through it because it's so hard to understand their Manchurian accents and everything. But they've had some like really interesting guests on, and the last one I listened to was Steve Albini, and they were like asking him if he would remix Live at the Witch Trials, which I was like, why would you do that? But then
why would you touch that?
I guess the band members feel like that never really got where they wanted it to go, which seemed wild to me. But yeah,
that is such a great sounding record.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And Perverted by Language is like a little later on, and they kind of they're that time and like that switch or that era, they sort of went from like being it to me. Live at the Witch Trials, none of their other records sound like that. No. Their other records are great, but that one is very special in a way, you know.
It seems like they got more raw. They got more raw after Live at the Witch Trials.
Yeah, and just like kind of a very like groove of sort of situation. And I think Perverted by Language and then, you know, Wonderful and Frightening World, they start to even get a little more poppy, which I think was Brick Smith sort of brought that into the band a little bit. And so Perverted by Language is just, the songs are so awesome, and they're just, there's a song, the very first song is called Eat Yourself Fitter, and it's just like, I can't, like, you have to, like, every time I listen to it, I hear something different, and I'm just like, this song is insane. So
that was the first Fall song I ever heard.
Yeah.
On John Peel, because John Peel loved the Fall, right? And they didn't they did like the most Peel sessions of any band, maybe?
They did, yes.
Yeah.
Someone showed Witch Trials the band.
Witch Trials the band.
Yeah. The Sound Side project.
That right? That Adrian, is that with Jello Biafra and Adrian Borland? Is that right?
Yeah, they had a 112-inch EP on Alternative Tentacles, and it sounds nothing like the Dead Kennedys or the Sound.
right.
Absolutely nothing like either band. It's minimal synth from what I remember.
Yeah, that's amazing. Not to derail, but like that's an amazing like Adrian Borland and Jello Biafra. Like,
yeah, it is. I can't believe that happened. I guess it just happened on the Dead Kennedys toured over there, and they toured pretty early on there. Because that record I think is from 80 or 81.
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah, there's a 3-minute thing on YouTube of John Peel.
Yeah, probably just placed from every time they were on. Yeah.
All right, beautiful. All right, Ebro, Chicago.
I hope there's actually a Chicago record.
When I say Chicago, that's like what I immediately think.
Yeah.
Well, Brick Smith is from Chicago, so there was like a little
25 or 6 to 4 Saturday in the Park.
Yeah, it's actually the rest of them are all Chicago records. The band.
Yeah. Chicago 16 or Chicago 17.
A solo Peter Cetera record. So, okay. So I'm gonna go. This is Devastation. They were Chicago death thrash band.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, they're fucking awesome. But they were like they did like a demo in 80. Well, they did a demo in 85, another one in 86 or something. And they fucking rule. Just like it's like one of the first like I don't know. It's kind of you're talking about like early death thrash whatever. So it's got like it has the demo with Troy Dixler, who was the singer of Syndrome, who were another Chicago metal band or whatever on the demo, and then they got this dude Dwayne singing on it, and they both have awesome voices. They redid the demo, and then they recorded like they were supposed to record like an LP or something that was supposed to come out on Combat or whatever the fuck, and it just never happened. So it's got that, and it's got live songs on it. It's actually really cool that it came out because I had like a dub of the demo like a long ass time ago or whatever. So it's cool they did it on vinyl, and I didn't even realize it came out like 2015 or something, and I like found out after the fact. So it was cool to get that. And another thing that's interesting because it's like one thing for some reason there was like a kind of strange mixture of like Chicago metal and punk stuff, and so the drummer from Devastation ended up playing in this band Gear and in this band the Vindictives. So like
wow,
which is
crazy
funny, which is funny if you know Devastation, because Devastation are like fucking like crazy fast, like thrash stuff or whatever, and then he ended up playing in those bands later on or whatever. And I really like Gear. Gear were kind of more melodic, kind of I guess Dag Nasty style band or whatever.
Like Life Sentence.
Yeah. Not exactly like Life Sentence, but like like they were around in the late 80s, early 90s or whatever, and then the Vindictives were around in the early 90s, and like it was always kind of a trip knowing that Pat Buckley, the drummer, was in Devastation, because Devastation is like so far removed from that stuff or whatever. But it is funny because it's like when I'm looking at all these bands kind of like would have members who did like Ted, who played guitar in Gear, also was in like kind of like so he might have actually been in Devastation at one time, but like he like they were all like down with this crazy metal stuff or whatever, and then played in more melodic bands later on or whatever. So I always thought that was interesting, and I don't know, but yeah, it's definitely, if you're into like the because it's not like death metal or whatever, it's kind of like the early incarnation of like there's like a quote from Jeff Becerra from Possessed, and because it's kind of like that style, but like like even more more extreme than Possessed or whatever. So it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't heard it before.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
Oh, you haven't heard? Yeah.
I know some Chicago thrash metal, like but not. I never. So
Zoetrope, was Zoetrope from Chicago?
Etrope, yeah, Etrope were fucking awesome. Yeah, Etrope, but so Etrope were street metal. That's what
street metal, not thrash.
Yeah, again, that's like that totally fit in because it's kind of like they were thrash, but then they also you know, it was like that was their thing or whatever.
It's like fucking, it's almost like sacrilege or like detente also, like that kind of like,
but they kind of like, so like, because E-Trope started in the late 70s, so like they were maybe even mid 70s, so they were like they were super influenced by like Kiss early on or whatever, and they put out like a 7-inch, I want to say in the early 80s, and then like as they went into the 90s, it kind of got more thrash. But the 2 E-Trope albums are fucking awesome. Like they're super like catchy. Like like Barry Stern's an amazing drummer. Like they were all like really good at their instruments. They all and they were super, like, to tie this back to Life Sentence, they helped Life Sentence on the like that first session.
Now I'm loving Life Sentence now.
Yeah,
like, the right backs, that's all. Yeah.
They recorded like the first that first session and the first Life Sentence session that's on the LP with Barry Stern and Kenny Black from E-Trope were there in the same place that E-Trope recorded their first album that's out in the suburbs and shit. So it's like that's what I'm talking, like, so E-Trope were like would play like hardcore shows and stuff. They were like they were a part of
it's in the music, like, right? It's in the music, man.
Yeah, and like they had bands that like they were part of bands that played like shows and you know, I mean, so they were super connected to the Chicago like punk and hardcore scene or whatever, and like those dudes were like, and yeah, they were an amazing band. Actually, I was gonna bring up one of their records as a thing, but I didn't do it.
But we got to talk about them anyway, so that's cool, man.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I'm slipping it in anyways or whatever.
Didn't I bring up?
I hope you bring in Violent Tumor next.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that. Oh, yeah. I hope
that's it's got the Anarchy sign on the front and everything, right?
Yeah, right. And then Life of Crime, which is
out.
Yeah, so it's like both. If you need a metal record, like a fucking underrated, amazing metal record, pick up both of these records. They're really good.
So, I've been pronouncing it Zoe Trope for 30
well,
years.
that's but that's that's like yeah.
And,
well, no, but that's kind of without hearing them say we're E-Trope or whatever. It's like I would have Zoe Trope.
I said the same thing, but then Jeff Jellin very violently corrected me.
Violently corrected you.
It's a very sacred thing in the Chicago metal community.
Say it one more time. So I remember what how do you say it?
E-Trope.
E-Trope.
Yeah.
When I go to Chicago, I don't want to be violently corrected.
Exactly.
Don't offend anybody.
You gotta watch. You know, that's the thing, is like people are going around saying it wrong all the time, and shit happens.
It happens every day, right?
About Chicago being a violent place, and that's lies because people are mispronouncing.
One of the main reasons the crime rate's so high in Chicago, right? People pronouncing
and also
mispronouncing the name.
So the special message on here, I don't know if people can read it, but it says for speed and death metal addicts, this is hardcore street metal. So
there you go.
Now we know.
Get it right. Say the name right, and know that
hardcore street metal really needs a comeuppance. Like we need a new. We need more.
Yeah, it's like we've got street punk. Like
No, I'm just like and of course. No connection to that bullshit or whatever.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Street metal feels right. Street metal.
That's right.
So that's the thing. Is like everyone's coming up with names and just like, and I mean that's like they were a fucking down to earth, like metal band
streets,
or whatever. They weren't like dressed up and like they were playing shows. They were getting down. So it's like street metal is right.
All right.
Yeah.
E-Trope.
Hopefully they were both for the streets and from the streets.
Yeah, and don't forget the struggle. Don't forget the street metal.
Exactly. Don't forget the street metal. Right.
Beautiful. I'm glad you showed that Devastation because it kind of opened the door that I was going to open a bit later, and you've already opened it a little bit for me. So it's like it's eased me into my.
I saw a record that you posted, which is actually a Chicago related record that you posted that I was gonna say something about too, but I figured I'll let you in case you're gonna use.
Oh, this is not Chicago, but it's like in the. We'll get to it on my.
Okay.
Right.
Should I bring up the IQ points a bit?
No. Bring it down. I went to lowest common denominator.
I'm gonna get kind of highbrow here.
Uh-oh.
All right. Systems of Romance by Ultravox.
Nice, man.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Nice.
Every Ultravox record early on sounds different. Like their first album is very like David Bowie and kind of glam rock inspired and kind of overproduced. Their second album is very punk and also has an electric violin on it and just like pretty raw. And then this album, I want to say that this is like the first Gary Newman record. In other words, Gary Newman copied off of Ultravox. And it's good. This is a great record because before Midge Ure joined the band and made it not nearly as good. It's the original vocalist John Fox, and it's just really good. I guess analog synth pop before that was real, like synth pop before it was really a thing yet. Because I think this is from '78, and I think it might even predates the Sparks "Number One in Heaven" record for like being a synth pop record. Just like super. Like really good production, like the it's synth pop, but it doesn't sound automated at all. Like all of the synthesizers are played manually, and it's got real drums, so it's sort of like Gary Newman in that way, that it's using a lot of synths, but they're still playing them like they're not being sequenced by a robot or whatever. I mean, some of the songs are pretty stripped down, like electronic, and then others have pretty loud, not really super heavy, but pretty loud guitars on them. So, I feel like they're I don't want to say underrated because a lot of people do really like them, but I feel like they get kind of passed over, like in kind of all the styles that they played. And I think maybe it's because they got so crappy and popular later.
I think that's right.
That they were led by a man who was responsible for "Do They Know It's Christmas?" So I can see, and it also
I put that on my Christmas playlist. I'm not mad about it. No.
Yeah, I think.
Right, it was
also
in an international chain.
Yeah. Then I don't think John Fox had that big of a career after.
He had a bit of a solo career, a little bit, but there you go. Oh, there's Rachel. There you go. John Fox's solo is also killer.
He has a great solo album, but I don't think he got very popular after Ultravox. So, but yeah, their first the Young Savage 7-inch is amazing. That's a great punk record. And then Ha 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 is also a great punk record. And then, I just think, they're the John Fox era. They just have three different styles that I think they do pretty well.
Things they did,
It's funny because, like, being from the UK and being the age that I am, I only knew them from like Vienna and the mid-year era. So, like, I didn't know anything about the other Ultravox for like decades. And then it's like I've only really gone back and discovered it in like the last like 5-10 years or so. So
I had no idea about the earlier part of their career until I was probably in my 30s, and someone played Fear in the Western World off their second album, which is a great punk song, and I had to do a double take because I was like, this is just a dollar bin band in where I'm from.
I mean, those early records are still cheap over here. I don't know about but like the first three albums are still
all of their early pretty much
all their albums
probably. But it's funny that I think that's going to change. I think at some point those first
now
three
that you guys have been talking about
from now on, here on out. the influences that we are.
Yeah, exactly. Except for all the swearing that I'm doing, that's making people not check it out or whatever.
Yeah, so buy up your Ultravox record now before it's
right.
Right now you can get
buy low, sell high for
Ultravox.
I think a fair amount of record store owners would pay you to take a good amount of the record.
Please talk about Ultravox on this show or whatever.
It's funny though, because I only know that. But from the mid-year years, let's not talk about it too much. But I'm wondering, like, on those like mid-year years LPs, are there some like really good like deep cuts, you know, on those later records? Could be right. No. Okay, thanks. Moving on.
I've looked.
I've looked. You know every song.
You've tried, right? You've tried. All right. Wow.
Definitive no.
Thanks for taking one. All right.
Thank you for keeping us safe from the late era.
I'm the kind of person that would do that. You know, like let's take a chance on these, but no. All right.
Well, hey, if you can find them for 100 yen, why not?
If they're 100 yen, I will. Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'm going to change my order a little bit. Doesn't really matter what order they go in, but Devastation has kind of opened the door for me for my next pick. Let's talk some death metal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of people don't like death metal.
I love death metal.
Me too. But I know, man. Like sometimes the vocals can be a little much, right? Like you get that the vocalist that's like almost comedically guttural.
Yeah.
This band doesn't have such a problem. Anyway, it's all down to Artie White is why I'm here today. Not here today, but why I'm showing my next pick. When he came on the show for the first time, like he showed this band's like first LP. When he showed it, I was like, man, I haven't listened to that for ages. And he was like, yeah, you know, you should go and re-listen to it. And I realized I had like a shitty like Back on Black like reissue of it, and then I sold it because I was I'm gonna get like a reissue of the proper like version. Anyway, so kind of about a year passed. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like really like investigate like this band, and I started listening to them a little bit online. I was like, man, this band doesn't have a bad record. Like, and they're from Sweden.
Okay, I think I know who it is.
Right.
I'm just gonna say that about everything that you bring up.
All right. So name of the band?
Ebro has your number, Mike.
I'm gonna say it's Dismember.
Bingo. There you go.
Bingo.
Dismember.
How did I know?
All right. Next question you won't get right. You might. I'm gonna show like a later career record by this band, which it's unbelievable how consistently great they have been. They've been like unaffected almost by like any trends in heavy music.
They didn't try and like, oh, here's our arty rock and roll record or some shit. You know, it's like
there's a little bit of groove metal.
Yeah, right.
It's a little, but it's like it doesn't matter. It's still like they knew how to kind of bring it in without like going too far. Anyway, let me get to my pick is going to be this one, which is like a 2004 record.
Oh, I haven't even heard this one yet.
So a lot of people haven't heard this era.
Yeah.
Dismember, Where Iron Crosses Grow. They got into all this like anti-war and like anti-religion stuff as they kind of went through their career, and it's like it's actually quite astounding how amazing like these late era records. When I say late, I mean from 2000 and 2008. But
no, that's it. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I haven't checked that one out. Do they answer where iron crosses grow, or is that just like a rhetorical question?
It's not a question; it's a statement.
It's like Germany. I don't know where.
Well, it's very like. I mean, I haven't like looked at the lyrics too much, but they've moved away from like the horror themes and stuff and the slashing, kind of stuff to like war is bad, war is bad, religion is bad. There's no God kind of type territory.
I like that. That's good.
They even have a record called "The God That Never Was" is one of their other records, I think, which is another good one. But man, it's actually kind of took my breath away, like how amazing like all this stuff is. It's like even if you don't like death metal, you might like it. It's like it's almost like metallic crust almost. It's like quite.
Is it like blackened crust or whatever?
See,
like
I made a funny joke about this like somewhere else on the internet. I was like, were Dismember like responsible for like, you know, like because it does sound like it. It's like it's down tuned.
I just think it's funny though, like everyone loves it, like it's black and whatever, like you know,
it's like black and street punk.
Yeah, black and street
metal.
Exactly.
Black and street metal.
Right.
Nah, it's like this like filthy guitar tone, like but they also throw in like these like Iron Maiden like melodies and stuff seamlessly.
So it sounds like they have really good taste, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, and it's like it just all works like perfectly. It's not like, oh, that was a bit cheesy or that was a bit it just like all like punishing and catchy and raw but melodic at the same time.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Jeff, you're kind of going in and out. What's up?
Jeff is right.
Yeah.
He just looks kind of pixelated.
Are you trying to do like some? Are you trying to make like some kind of like filter and shit to look like arty or whatever?
He's black. He's got the black.
Maybe log off and like
You're a little scrambled.
He's just frozen. He'll come back. Yeah.
It's like because we're talking about Dismember, it's making it out or whatever.
It was too hard for his.
He's like, I love Dismember so much.
There's
an earthquake going on in Chicago. Yeah.
Okay, here's a question for everybody watching and like not watching. Who do you think designed this logo?
I don't know.
I'm trying to look at it on the big
because I got so.
It's pretty cool. Like they also kept the same logo. Like
yeah. No, because I remember like from their demos or whatever.
It's like a member of the band who was in them for a very short time, and he left and went on to Entombed, and then the Helicopters.
Fuck, what's his name?
Nick Anderson, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like it's weird. Like he designed this logo, like when he was a teenager or whatever, and they used it throughout there.
It's insane. I love Entombed or whatever. Like it's insane to think about what they were able to do at such a young age or whatever.
Crazy,
like,
right?
Yeah, it's like like listening to Left Hand Path or whatever, and they were like teenagers. It's kind of like that's insane, and then like as they even. Because now, like when Wolverine Blues came out, I was kind of like, I can't hang with it because it's not as like those. But now I dig it.
Right.
But it just like it took they were able to kind of do it, and then the Helicopters are cool. I mean, it's like they were able to do like some cool shit. Like they're definitely good musicians. I'll say that.
They were even like doing stuff before Entombed, right? Like Nihilist and all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, no, yeah, Nihilist. Yeah, like the Nihilist demos are awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of crazy to think how young. Yeah, there's a like Southern Lord put out an LP of the demos or whatever.
Yeah. All right, that's my death metal pick for the week.
Yeah.
Anyway, people, if you think you don't like death metal, like. Check out Dismember. They might try. You might, because it's like, oh man, it's like I could go on for a long time about Dismember, but it's like it's just different. It's like it's different. It's got this like hardcore punk kind of feel to it. So
yeah. Well, and I think that's where, and that's kind of like where the whole thing with the black metal scene in Norway was all pissed off because they're like, oh, you're too into hardcore and you're not like wanting to, you're not being
not sure enough.
You're not being depressed in a graveyard or something like that. So it's like they were all mad at like Sweden and shit, even though because all those bands are a lot better and stuff too. So it's
they're too sunny and bright over there.
Right. It's like the sun stays up for too long in Sweden.
You don't get it over there.
That's all Scandinavia, but I don't know.
The infighting of the this
Right.
the Small Sunlight era.
But you know, like I think they had come like had bands that played like hardcore shows and shit like that, you know,
Right.
before they went strictly death metal. And
you can
metal.
tell that like Dismember, like we're listening to like deep.
Oh yeah,
you can just tell.
Oh yeah,
it's totally in the music. You can tell right now.
Right, but I mean that's the thing is like all the bands, you know, the Norwegian dudes, they're all mad or whatever. They all listen to that shit too. You know, it's like they confront like they're like we only listen to Bathory or whatever, but it's like they like fucking GBH and shit like that. It's like come on, you know.
Wasn't like GBH Cawthon from Bathory's like favorite band?
I think something like that. Yeah, I can see that. You know, yeah.
All right, all right, Sarah. What round one? Round 3?
I don't know, 3.
3.
Well, I'm gonna bring it down a little bit.
All right.
You talked about. I hope Jeff doesn't have this. I'm hoping this isn't one of his picks, just because he was recently in Australia. But
he's not gonna know.
Wait, what?
I said he's not gonna know that you picked it.
So yeah, right. He's not gonna know.
It might be one of his picks or not.
So Mike was talking about Sunday Night Punk, and this is a Sunday Night Punk record for me. This is the UV Race. This is their first record, the UV Race. This is a very Sunday Night Punk record for me. I love it. They have a lot of records after this, and they toured the US kind of early, but I think they really like continued in Australia, but maybe they toured here on a second record. I can't really remember. This record though is such a great.
Yeah, I think they did tour here, didn't they?
Yeah, and you know, I think
Jeff is beeping yes, so
he's indicating yes, so that means yes. But this one is the first one, similar on the back. A 6-piece band from Australia. The songs on this record just really like I listened to it a lot the last week, and it has aged well. This is a great record. You know, I feel like when I saw them live, and I saw them a couple of times, it was always great. They had different people in the band would do different things in different songs sometimes, which is another thing that I hate, but they managed to do that in a way that didn't make me hate it. So that's a good sign. But this record has one of my favorite love songs. I Go Blank might be like one of the greatest punk love songs ever written, maybe. But everything on this feels really good to me. I feel like it's like one of those kind of records that just puts your brain in a very nice space. I think it's like got a nice tempo. It's pretty consistent. And they were great live, and Marcus is a singer, and he's just a really great front man. So, yeah, Jeff, like, I'm glad that you're back because you can probably speak to this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, and they've done a lot of projects. So, you know, everybody in this band has who was the drummer was in just like every Australian hardcore band and punk band of this era. I believe he has a record store now, you were saying, right? And
yeah, he has 2 record stores, one in Sydney and one in Melbourne.
Yeah, and just
so
I love the term Sunday Night Punk. Yeah, it's really good.
Did I invent that?
The Sunday Night
Punk. You did. Yeah. As far as I know, you did.
Does Sunday Night Punk mean punk that you listen to because you got to work the next day? So it's like
just like
chilled out or
bring yourself down
a little bit, like, and put you like in a nice, smooth transition into the week, right? Like, yeah. So you were saying like the Stranglers was one that you mentioned and stuff, but I feel like this really fits a lot.
Nice.
So
yeah, I feel like if you want to hear more UV Race songs, there's like a band that Al from UV Race is in called Dick Diver, and
that's great too. Yeah,
every Dick Diver record has a couple songs that sound like UV Race songs on them.
Very Sunday Night Punk, I will say. Yeah. I feel like Dick Diver is another one. Yeah.
Are we talking like? Is there any connection with like Total Control?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's drummer in this band was the singer in Total Control, and what was it, Straight Jacket?
Straight Jacket Nation.
Straight Jacket
Yeah.
Nation. Oh wow.
He did a band thing called Distort.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically it's 2/5 of Total Control are 2/6 of UV Race.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah.
Of course you're a
What's
teacher.
up, what's up with all this math?
Oh, yeah. I know fractions. I could even convert them to percentages and decimals too.
Right.
Wow.
What is the percentage of Total Control and UV? No.
Well, we know that now, but so I would encourage everyone to add this to your Sunday night listening roster. You can find it like on streaming, but on YouTube you kind of have to like pick out the songs one by one. So if you don't have this lovely LP, just go on Discogs and figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out. It's great.
The best UV Race song is Lego Man off their first
Lego
7.
Man is good. It's good. I mean,
song.
I feel like I also love Dog Tired, but I Go Blank is my favorite.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. So
I'm on the lookout.
my favorite like punk love song ever, maybe. So.
Beautiful. I'm confident I can find that. I'm going to find it soon.
Yeah.
I will. It will be.
Yeah.
made.
You will. I feel like it's going to be nice in your
these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I just picked up those like the first 2. I don't know how many they have, but like the first 2 Total Control records that I got rid of, and I rebought them. So good.
Yeah. So good.
So good. So good.
I almost picked a Total Control record, but then I was like, they're not. They are Sunday night punk, maybe, but this is definitely.
Yeah, they're a bit manic.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Okay.
Now, does anybody like the third Total Control album?
Not heard it.
I don't hate it. People hated on it when it came out, but I don't hate it.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
All right.
I wouldn't say I listened to it a lot.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it a lot either, so I was just wondering if it was something that people had
It's
given a
homework.
chance.
We'll listen to it again,
Yeah.
and then we'll reconvene on that point.
What's the problem with it? Because I haven't heard.
It's electronic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of more Sunday night? Like,
Sunday night.
We haven't really clearly defined what Sunday night punk is yet. We need to introduce some boundaries.
Sunday night punk is not actually punk. It's like electronic music and shit.
No.
I know. I'm joking. I don't know.
I don't want to confuse.
I don't know what it means either. So
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
We're fleshing it out right now.
Just pretend you know what it means.
When you said it, I was like, I know what he means by that.
I kind of felt I knew what I meant when I said it.
I like no, that's kind of cool that you came up with a term that you don't even know what it means. That's awesome.
Exactly.
So,
Hey,
I remember it because it struck a chord with me, and you said like the Stranglers, and there was a couple other bands.
Sound maybe.
See,
The
Rachel
sound
said
are definitely Sunday night punk. The sound definitely.
It's punk, but it's like
The sound.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what something.
it's punk, but it's not like punk at all. It's like
It's like new wave.
It's like electronic music.
It's like okay.
Anyway, who's next?
I guess
Ebro's
it's
next. Ebro's
Okay.
next.
Hold on 1 minute.
I have to run to the bathroom, but I promise I'm listening from in there.
Hey, you better.
Well, as long as we can't listen from here.
All right. So I picked. This is a record by a Chicago rapper named EC called Real State of Mind. It came out in the early 90s, and EC. So EC or EC Illa is what he also goes by or whatever is kind of an underrated Chicago MC that he was down with a crew called the Old State Assassins. I love this is his first LP. I fucking love it. It's so good. Like the production is great on it. He's really talented. He helped produce, I don't know if all of it, but some of it. He put the LP out himself. He's from the north side of Chicago. He's from a neighborhood called Uptown that basically has always been kind of more, like like rougher kind of like for the north side or whatever. There's a lot of old theaters in Uptown that you know used to go see punk and metal shows at or whatever, like the Aragon and the Riviera.
That's where I'm a high school teacher in, by the way.
Yeah, right. It's where Jeff teaches high school. So it's like, but I mean, you know, it's just like as long as I've been going there, it's like, you know, something crazy always kind of pops off and still does or whatever. So it's just you know, he's a white cat or whatever too. So it's just like, but he's one of the, you know, it's funny because it's like he, you know, brings up being a cracker in the songs or whatever, but it's like he definitely, like, you wouldn't, I don't know how to describe it, like for like a white MC, especially at the time or whatever, it's like it's not he is probably one of the shit, I don't even know how to say it exactly, but it's like he doesn't come across as like you wouldn't, if you were listening to it, think he was a white MC. You know,
What
really.
year is it from?
Huh?
What year is it from?
That's from 92. I think it came out 92. And then he put out a second album called the LLP in the mid 90s, like 95 or whatever, that he had a video called for a song called On Ill that they used to show on Rap City and shit. So it's like the thing is that, like, what I love about the music that, like, the crews, that the different groups that came out of Ill State Assassins, it was like it was about hip hop. That's what all the songs are about or whatever. It's like that's what they were down with, and very Chicago centric and down with talking about Chicago, showing love to Chicago. And it was like, you know, talking about violence that is surrounding him, but like just kind of within, like, hey, this is what we're experiencing, but we're into hip hop or whatever, and this is what we're, and you know, it's kind of like a lot, because the Ill State Assassins were basically like a lot of cats were from the south side or whatever, and also from the west side. They were from, like, have gang affiliations because it's like where they grew up at or whatever, but it's like what the songs are about, even though if it's like more tough talk, it's like it's also more about hip hop. It's not about like killing people, it's about talking about like, hey, this is what, like, we're murdering MCs or whatever, kind of that thing or whatever. But it's great. There's only, surprisingly, because they keep on reissuing old hip hop shit, like they haven't reissued it for whatever reason, but there is a Japanese CD version of it that that I got or whatever, and they actually have like a cover for it, because it's like, this is like just a white label and shit, but it comes with, like, so it's got the LP, but then it's got a bonus 12-inch with like instrumentals and then some remixes and stuff like that too. But yeah, no, it would be, the thing is that, like, most, because Chicago has always been a you know, people were into hip hop, but it's like it wasn't the same as like New York or like some other cities where it was like house music in Chicago has always been the, like, a primary, you know, like the taste of a lot of people or whatever. So it's like people that are into hip hop are super into it, but it was like, you know, Chicago doesn't, I mean, you know, most music from Chicago doesn't get the same love that, like, you know, like other stuff on the coast get. So at the time, it was definitely not getting recognized or whatever, and it's like it's a really good album, so, you know, people should check it out.
Awesome.
We had some good.
Never heard it. I'm interested now. So,
yeah, it's good. What were you saying, Mike?
I was gonna say, the last time you were on, we had some good hip hop chat about the Show and AG record. Yeah.
Well, so this is, you know, I mean, honestly, like, that's kind of, you know, I still listen to punk and metal shit or whatever, but it's like, you know, I listen to a lot of hip hop stuff, so it's cool to, you know, I like to, especially to talk about like stuff like that like people haven't really checked out, and it's, you know, it's a good record. So it's kind of definitely, the production on is really good. It's you know, it's good. So I hope people check it out, you know.
Yeah, sure. When I think of Chicago and music, I do think of like the Chicago, like, punk, the Chicago sound, like when it
right,
like, and house, right? That's the first two.
Because I mean, and you know, obviously, like, it's like a lot of, like, you know, it came from Chicago, Detroit, or whatever. So it's kind of like, you know, I get why, but there it was funny because it's like, you know, in the late 80s, early 90s or whatever, you could find lots of mixes, like house mixes on the radio and stuff, like people like, you know, used to like, you could find, but then there was only 1 or 2 stations that would have like a hip hop radio show and stuff. And so it's like, you would have to try and get that. And then that would cut out, and then you have to listen, you know, like the house mix that goes to 10 in the morning, whatever, all night or whatever. So it's you know, it is it's was always like not as popular. And I know, like, you know, people like at certain schools or whatever, they'd be like the house kids versus the hip hop kids, and kind of, you know, like shit like that happening or whatever. So it is there is still like cool shit that came from here that, you know, that is hip hop. So
All right, beautiful. All right, Jeff, what's your
so my next pick? This was inspired by a post on the "What Are You Listening To" group. It got me to go back and listen to it.
shout out to the group? Bill's Rachel here.
It's a Mind Is a Terrible Thing by
There you
Christ
go.
on Parade. This is a record I got probably in 1990 or so, or 91, and it's one of those records that I think sort of disappeared after it came out. I don't think it quite had the lifespan that Sounds of Nature had. I think it's as good or better than Sounds of Nature, even though it's kind of a different band. The one thing that I love about this record is that it's weird. It gets weird. It gets post-punky. There's like a synthesizer in a couple songs. There are some, you know, kind of melodic songs. There's some definitely some very straightforward punk songs, but it's still got really like blazing fast hardcore on it. Like probably every second or third song on it is like a really fast hardcore song, like on Sounds of Nature. And I feel like there aren't really too many records that pull that off, you know, that kind of got into the more expansive like sound that like you know, hardcore bands got into after they got tired of sounding like DRI or whatever. Yeah, and I think like, yeah, this record's sort of like you can kind of maybe see the direction that Neurosis was going to go in on this record too, because there's definitely some of that more atmospheric stuff going on. But yeah, it's I'm glad somebody brought it up on the group, because I hadn't listened to it in forever, and I don't know if I don't know if people are Christ on Parade like are they a band that a lot of people listen to now? I have no idea, but
I think Christ on Parade is kind of, you know, I mean, some people know about them, but I wouldn't say like it's like, it's weird because I think some younger people now, it's like there are some obscure bands that have turned into like, oh shit, everyone knows this band. You know, like stuff that like we were like, man, like I can't
not there yet, but yeah.
But at Christ on Parade, I would say probably don't have that same cachet now or whatever. But yeah, I saw that post that made me like, I want to listen to it again, because I remember being like a long time ago, being like kind of, I think I was turned off a little bit by the experimental side of it or whatever. So now, not that, you know, and I was pretty close-minded when it came out. So I could see it being not, you know, maybe I'd be like, oh, you know,
you get over it. It's fine.
Yeah, I can get down with that now, but I kind of want to listen to it now and see how I feel about it. But
yeah, I think they started out as like a Bay Area anarcho-punk band called Treason. And then,
were they in Treason?
Yeah.
Oh, that's I don't know.
They were on Peace. Yeah, that's the same band.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then they switched singers, and because they had a woman singing at first, and they switched singers, changed the name, and they come from that early Bay Area kind of peace punk or anarcho punk scene, but by the time this record comes out, they don't really sound anything like that at all. They don't sound remotely anarcho punk on this record, and it's weird. It's on kind of a bigger label. I think it was on one of those Rough Trade subsidiaries that like Mr. T Experience and Fuel had records on, you know.
Oh, that fourth international or whatever.
Yeah, I think it might have been.
Huh? Yeah, because I remember getting it like it was like one of the. It was easier to find that for whatever reason than like I mean Sounds of Nature you could find or whatever, but it's like that came up and I remember getting it and I was just like at the time I'm like I don't know, like it just like I think I was expecting it to be like their older stuff or whatever, and I think I was just you know, fuck, I don't know. but now I want to listen to it and kind of see where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you were a band in 1989 or 90, it'd be kind of hard to compete for the attention of somebody who was really into the Pussmore catalog. That's all like that's all really great hardcore and like pretty one-dimensional too at the time.
Yeah, they came to Japan like how many years ago? Obviously reformed. Barry.
Oh,
they were great. Like Barry, I guess, was like he kind of moved on. He had a psychobilly band, right?
Yeah. He did. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He still had the tone. When like they played in Japan, he still was like looked like Elvis kind of thing. But they were great though. They were great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of these guys ended up in Neurosis. Noah, I believe, ended up.
Yeah. Right.
Noah Landis, right? And then
And then I think after Christ on Parade, they had a band called Blister that was definitely way slower, and I thought not nearly as good as Christ on Parade. But
I never
heard that.
Definitely Barry. I think Barry, wanted to be a psychobilly band. I'm not sure what the other guys went on to. I know one of them ended up in Econochrist.
That's right, Mike, the bassist, right?
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah.
But yeah. Thanks to the group for that one.
Well, that's why I brought up the fucking Life Sentence.
I'll get him back.
My revenge, finally. Yeah.
Okay, all right. This is funny. This is a funny pick, but I'll probably have a good time with this record, I hope. So when people ask me, right, like, what was the first band you ever saw? I always say Iron Maiden in 1981, but it wasn't. I had seen another band like before that, like quite a long time before that. Maybe like I was really young, like maybe like 8 years old. But they were my favorite band when I was 8 years old. Not that old. When I was 8 years old.
Like Banana Split. Like what was it?
Actually, I'm going to give you some.
The Beatles.
Jerry Lewis.
Chuck Berry.
Was it the Toy Dolls? Was it Toy Dolls?
Oh no, close but not close. Okay, let me give some more hints. Chin and Chapman.
Sweet.
Chapman and Chin.
Susie Quattro.
There you go.
Oh.
Well, those two guys wrote a lot of songs, right, in the 70s. Yeah. Actually,
I have a Chin Chapman record in my pile, but
Rachel is not that far off. So, anyone have a favorite like Chin and Chapman composed song?
Oh, there's so many. I don't know.
Ballroom Blitz.
Well, there you go. That's was on my list of like what people might say is Ballroom Blitz. Ballroom Blitz by the Sweet.
Yes.
Or Crocus.
Or
Crocus a little bit.
Double Gate Drive by Susie Quattro. There's another one.
Yeah.
It's not.
I love Susie.
It's not the Wombles, but they're kind of not too dissimilar to the. Sorry, I'm kind of stringing people along a little bit, but like this was my favorite band when I was a kid. So Chin and Chapman wrote 4 of the songs on this record, right? Okay. And they're the only good songs on this record. But this is my favorite. When I was like 8 years old, this is my favorite band. I don't think I've ever owned a record by this band until like last week. And when I saw it, I just had to get it.
That's exciting.
Right? I just had to get it. Because, man, like the 4 good songs are just like in the complete opposite. This is like Saturday Night Glam. This is what this is. So it's like, it's like kind of the most lightweight, like party glam Rachel got it. There you go.
Okay. I don't know.
Mud.
Oh, you know what?
Right.
I've never heard Mud.
You're in for a treat, my friend.
Man.
Mud Rock.
Mud.
Mud
Yeah.
Rock.
Mud is the name of the band. Rock is the name of the record. Man.
I really I pine for the days where you could just call your record rock. Like,
right. There's also Rock 2 as well. They even did that. Yeah. Rachel's thing to me, Rachel's like saying all my words that I was going to say. Tiger Feet.
Rachel's too good. She's too good at all this. She knows everything.
Like, honestly, okay, so there's 4 songs on this record that are amazing. They're all written by Chin and Chapman.
How many songs are on it?
1, 2. There's some medleys too. Okay, so you get things like Shake, Rattle and Roll, and See You Later, Alligator medley. It's bad, right?
Yeah,
like Blue Moon, cover of Blue Moon. Bye Bye Johnny, a cover of In the Mood, like a really bad cover of In the Mood.
Okay,
but the good songs are Rocket, which is like a fucking real slow burner of a glam song, and then. Okay, I have to own up to this. Like the other 3 best songs were singles, right? Like hit singles. But on this record, they fucking put them into a medley. So you don't even get you don't even get the full versions of each song. But it's like a 6-minute medley. So I think it works out nicely. And the 3 songs are Tiger Feet, which Rachel. Yes, there you go. See.
Mm-hmm.
Girl School covered Tiger Feet. There you go. They did. You got Tiger Feet. The Cat Crept In. There's a theme here. Tiger, cat. And Dynamite. Those 4 songs, check them out. It's just the most fun.
Those are the ones.
I will definitely check these. I have a Chin and Chapman record in my pile that I might. A what?
For today?
Yeah, I do.
What? Amazing! How about that?
I don't know if I'm gonna do. It's between this record and another. I'm not sure what I'm gonna choose next.
I feel like you have to choose it now.
Yeah, we'll just it has to be done right. So yeah, I mean honestly, Tiger Feet. If you're feeling a bit down, a bit depressed, put on Tiger Feet. You cannot be depressed, man. It's just the best. It's it's different though. It's not it's a bit like Susie Quattro. It's a bit like The Sweet, but it's got its own thing going on. Yeah. It's beautiful. The rest of the album is shit. Yeah, the rest of the album is fucking abysmal.
Only those 4 songs.
That sounds pretty good. Actually.
Yeah, honestly, if you like The Sweet, that 70s pop glam.
That's cool.
I mean, Girl School.
So I'm glad you found that record and that you.
It's Japanese pressing with no obi, so it was the buck,
Yeah.
But come on, when I was a kid, maybe The Sweet,
they look pretty cool,
right? And you got the blue suede shoes. I wore a pair of these when I was 8 years old. The drapes from the 50s mixed. It's 50s mixed with 70s. That's
right. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
All eras.
No,
nice.
Check them out. Don't check out this album. Check out
check out
some of
the songs.
The Cat Crept In, and what was the other one? Tiger Feet and Rocket.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
You'll have a great time.
Okay.
That's
Well, my pick has got nothing to do with glam or anything like that. This is a hip hop record.
There you go.
This is the Liz 2. This is by Armani Caesar, who is a artist on Griselda Records, who Ebro actually introduced me to this. Griselda Records is a record label from Buffalo, New York, where I'm from originally. And Armani is, just one of the artists on there, and I love her. I love the artwork. I actually almost wore my Liz 1 sweatshirt. This is Liz 2. But I decided to go with Budgie instead. But, there's a lot of female hip hop right now in the last 10 years or so that, is kind of raunchy and, whatever. But this record to me, just because it sounds like a lot of the Griselda stuff, it just sounds like an older style of hip hop that I really like. you know, her lyrics are amazing. I think it's just goals to live by. You know, some of it is on the raunchy side, but a lot of it is just about putting your head down, getting your money, and like not worrying about everybody else and their bullshit. So just a really great record. And you know, because it's from Buffalo, I feel like very connected to it in a way that, like, when I was there was not a lot of stuff that I was that into at the time. And the fact that they have like come so far and done so much has just been so awesome for me to watch. So Ebro, thank you for that. And also I should say, Ebro did not buy this record because we went out to lunch with his wife, Kristen, and he saw it at the store, told me about it. So I actually went over and bought it. Thank you for not buying it before me.
I just said because I didn't have that much money on me right now. I knew we were meeting. I'm like, yeah, you can, you know, they got that. So, and it's, you know, like the stuff on DOP, the record label that put it out is kind of well, it's from England, and then they don't press that many of them, so it's kind of like
there's like none of them. It's very hard to find. So,
well, and also it turned into a thing where it's like, I think now a lot of like sneakerheads and people that collect that shit started collecting like hip hop records, and so they started like, okay, it like we're gonna put this drop out at 10 in the morning or whatever, and it like sells out right away and stuff.
Right away.
Buy them to flip them and, you know, all that. So it's like to actually see a sealed copy at a record store here, I'm like, oh shit, you know, like that was pretty wild. So, you know, and I knew that she would like it if, you know, she didn't have it already or whatever. So
no, I didn't have it and I love it. And if anyone out there has the Liz, the first one, let me know.
That's in the comments.
I asked on Instagram the other day, but everyone's like, I got a tape, and I was like, no.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, so and that's kind of the thing. It's like anymore, you know, like I was, because just out the gate, even if you're buying it new, everything ends up being like 50, 60 bucks or whatever. Because it's like, well, like when you know, with the shipping, like shipping from England is expensive, so it's like ends up being that much. So it's like people
are very reasonably priced.
Right. So it wasn't that much more than probably it would have cost originally or whatever. The problem is just that because it's expensive just out the gate, that all the people that are reselling it are like, oh yeah, this is $150 or $100 or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, it's kind of crazy. And it sucks because it's like, good, you know, the shit's good. Like it'd be one thing if it's like shitty and it costs a bunch of money. I'm like, all right, cool. But it's like, you know, it's actually like the Griselda stuff they've been putting out is more reminiscent of stuff like harder stuff from the 90s that I like or whatever. That's what they're you should check it. Like check out West Side Gun, Benny the Butcher, you know, Conway the Machine or whatever. Like all like they have several they also keep on putting out stuff, like, so it's like it's hard to keep up with it, but they put out so much stuff that it's like, this is like what is what I want to see and what I want to hear from hip hop now and shit. So it's like, you know, it's good that when you find something like that in a local record store, it's not often, it's not common or whatever. So, you know,
I felt very grateful to have gotten that. So thank you for it. You know, and I think, you know, I love to listen to like a lot of radio hip hop and a lot of like women that are doing hip hop right now, but this one is definitely a little grittier. You know, and it just feels like it's coming from a place of like, these aren't songs written for the radio. Like these are songs that are, you know, these aren't things that are like put out there so they can get 1,000 hits. I mean, she is just like writing about being a stripper, going to college, trying to figure it out, what it's like to, you know, try to have your own business and do these things. I mean, it's really good. It's really good stuff. So, and not to be shady about like other rap that females are doing right now, because I love that too, but this is just different and hits in a better way for me. So
I mean, I like shit that comes from you know, cities like Buffalo and Detroit and, you know, all the Rust Belt cities and all that shit. Like, it's like stuff that's coming out there is not cool. You know, it's like not considered cool or not from like a hip section or whatever. You know, Buffalo is a rough.
Yeah, it's not. Like, it's not a hotbed of hip hop culture.
Yeah, right. Well, that. But I mean, you know, it's just like it's
right.
Yeah, it's coming from you know, people that like probably weren't expecting to have this turn into like a big thing or whatever. So it's cool that, you know, cool shit comes from small, you know, I don't know, like it's like I've always kind of felt an affinity for like cities that are looked over, like kind of passed over as like, you know, this is a shithole. Fucking, you know,
I gotta say we have a lot of Rust Belt representation in this chat right here. We got
right.
We got the East End. We got Buffalo. We got Buffalo.
We got Pittsburgh, and we've got
the very beginning. We've got the middle of the Rust Belt, which is Detroit, where I'm from, and then we got the West End with Ebro.
Wow. Yeah. So I mean, you know, I think it's basically like all the cities that had thriving industries that all the factories left or whatever, and just left shells of cities most times or whatever, and so people come from like hard situations in that, but that also creates, you know, well, Buffalo, it had fucking you know, you've had you had Rick James, you had like a lot of like, you know, like people that like good music has come out of, you know, Buffalo or whatever. So it's like, you know, these cities that kind of looked at, and I'm talking before, like, you know, and I don't know if Buffalo's getting gentrified or whatever, kind of like Detroit is now and shit, but it's like Detroit was always like, for most of my life, it's been fucking crazy. It's like you go.
Yeah, it's not as distinct as Detroit, but
it feeds like it kind of builds this kind of this feeling. A lot of like just kind of interesting shit comes out of there or whatever. I think that kind of like, you know, that builds off of like that feeling of desperation and, you know, everything's burning. And like,
let's just say, okay.
Detroit, I think that's sort of the thing about Griselda Records, right? I mean, I think they just were so like when you first told me about it and when I first started listening to it, I was like, oh my God, they're like got all their like wrestling, like
well, they weren't, they had like,
and they just do their own thing. Like they're really not concerned with like what is like in the zeitgeist or whatever, like, and then they become it because, you know, like this is real, this is my thing, and people do connect to that. But like there were not people making, well, maybe there were, you know, I can't pretend I'm an expert, but like people were not making rap that sounded like that much, you know. There probably were people, but I think they really kind of pushed that, like, you know, we love all this old stuff and, you know, it's important to us and this is how
they're also of the age of like, you know, like being born probably in the early 80s and stuff, so they're not that far removed from it, you know. It's like
so they were listening to it in the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're kind of, but I mean also not only that, the beats are great, you know, like it's so good, you know. It's not just like, oh, I like this because it generally sounds good. It's like it's good. So, you know, well, what were you gonna say, Jeff? You were saying something about Detroit.
I was just saying there's plenty of desperation and awfulness left in Detroit because the gentrifying part.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So
no, I know. But you know, also it's kind of like you see some things about it where it's like, oh well, you know, here's the fucking cafe that's by where Jumbo Flex used to be or something. It's just like that used to just be like fucking desolate, like, you know, craziness or whatever. So it's, you know, it's interesting to see that's like that kind of shit is starting to happen, but it's like it's not like how you used to feel in the Cass Corridor.
Yeah, everywhere the punk shows, like everywhere the punk shows happened that we went to and that John Brannon would have went to, that absolutely all but gentrified. It's
right.
Yeah. But there's still the east side and the west side.
So,
plenty of good music will still come out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. All right, Ebro, what's your Fourth pick.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
So I should have had these pulled up better. Okay. This is
nice.
Huey's story. The living legend. Baby Huey was a singer that was originally from Indiana, but he moved to Chicago, and he got down with Curtis Mayfield, and then he ended up passing away. He was young. He was only like 26. He passed away in 1970. They put out, like, he had recorded some shit, but not all his songs, but recorded some stuff. So they put out an LP with those, you know, the songs he finished, plus I think they did some instrumentals or whatever too of stuff they've been working on or whatever. But it's a fucking great LP. It's been reissued a couple times. It's also like the original is really, really, really hard to find now or whatever. I've never actually come across an original one, like, you know, for a long time of kind of looking. It came out on Crudos Records, which was Curtis Mayfield's label or whatever. He produced it and wrote some of the songs or whatever, but like it's been sampled on a bunch of hip hop records and stuff. So it's like Hard Times, you know, like Wu-Tang, Ice Cube, Tribe Called Quest or whatever, you know, people sampled it, but it's a great record. There's a fucking amazing version of Change Is Gonna Come that's kind of like it's because it's like, it's funky, but it's also kind of psychedelic a little bit and shit. And like, you know, he breaks it down, like starts talking in the middle and talking about like, you know, it's like there's like three kinds of people. He's like, there's white people, black people, and then there's my people and shit. It's like, let's get high and like, you know, get down. Yeah, his voice is fucking great too. It's just like real soulful. The drums are awesome on it, like super funky. There's a funky instrumental version of California Dreamin' with a flute, yeah, like which is pretty ill too, or whatever. So yeah, no, it's a great record. I love Curtis Mayfield's, you know, music, his influence or whatever, but like, you know, Baby Huey's voice on it's fucking great too. So it's no, check it out. You haven't checked that out. it's a good day. It's a good record.
I have a copy, but I feel like I have a really like not good pressing of it. It's been reissued a bunch of times, right?
Yeah, it's been reissued a bunch of times. So like, there's ones. The one that I got, the reissue I got is like it's the Rhino Records whatever.
Okay.
But it's like it sounds good to me.
Right.
I don't know, but I mean, I don't know if that's the one that you got or because I mean, there's been like there's several versions of the original, like, you know, because there was pressings kind of like all over the world or whatever, but like there was, I know recently there was like 180 gram like record store day version and shit like that, so I don't know if that
mine is from like about 8 or 9 years ago maybe, like I have to dig it out, but yeah, I remember I didn't notice it. So I didn't notice until I started reading things like, oh no, that's not the pressing that you need. This one sucks. Like it's like MP3 source, blah 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 blah. So
I mean, to me, it sounds. The version I got sounds good. Now, I don't, because that's the thing though. It's like anytime you read that shit, if someone is like, you know, there's some people that are like super like anal about stuff that I'm not like, you know, like I'm
really, but it's like
hey. This I'm feeling this or whatever. Just want to turn it up. It sounds good. So it's like it might not be the best version of it or whatever, but it's like it also I can feel what he was trying to lay down with it. So it's like I can get with it. You know,
right. You know, but it does eat away at your soul a little bit once in a while.
No. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, if I had a chance to cheap copy an original or whatever, I fucking do it. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's just not, you know, I haven't come across one or whatever. And then now, if I did, it's going to be expensive as hell. Right. So it's like, I'm sure. But the thing is that like, it didn't sound like it was like sourced from MP3s. It didn't sound like there was like, you know, it didn't sound
Did our 4 men with beards do a pressing of it?
They might have. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, that like I don't know anything about Four Men with Beards other than the name of the label.
That sounds wrong.
That bothers me because I don't like want to think about
like
Four
they
Men
did like Scott Walker reissued and stuff that just sound like just there's something just horrible about.
Yeah, well, it might have been like, you know, but yeah. So I mean, yeah, I don't know if that's what it is. This pressing is like, yeah, it sounds fine to me, but again, it probably is not. I'm sure there's maybe something better and shit, but on the same end, it's like yeah, like if I, you know, also probably if I talked to someone who was freaking out about that shit, I probably wouldn't be able to relate to them in any way or whatever. So it's like, I don't know.
I'm not freaking out.
I'm not on that level. Sorry.
No, yeah, no. I'm kidding, but it's like I don't know. It sounds fine to me.
That's legitimate, right? That's legitimate.
But on the same end, it's like
it's a classic record. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I feel like that's
no.
It's like one of those ones that like everybody that you know likes it. You know, like one of those kind of records. You know. Like,
yeah, right.
That's what I thought when you said it. Whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
What anyone said. Yeah.
Like a bunch of dudes that were, I don't know, reading Pitchfork and fucking found out about it that way or something, and then
they downloaded some MP3s from
You downloaded it from the internet.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And then pressed it. But I mean,
good job, Four Men with Beards.
It's a good, you know, soulful, funky, psychedelic record.
Yeah.
So,
let's forget about the pressing stuff. It's a great record. It's a great record.
That record is, yes.
No.
I mean, maybe we're thinking of Four Men with Beards completely in the wrong context. Maybe it's a beard and the dating somebody to
right, yeah, exactly.
It would probably sound better if it was, though, Jeff. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a classic. Everybody check out Baby Huey. It's a great record. All right, Jeff Chapman.
Yeah. No, actually, since Detroit and the Rust Belt came up, I'm going to reserve that for maybe my final pick. This is a band that I don't think people know about this band, despite them having roots in the Detroit hardcore scene. These guys started as a band called the Gerbils, who would play like the Freezer Theater and Bookies in Detroit. They were a hardcore band. They had a demo, like MRR reviewed the Gerbils demo, like way back in like issue number 3 of MRR. And then they became completely forgotten until somebody finally reissued the Gerbil stuff like 3 or 4 years ago. It's really good, kind of snotty hardcore from 82 or so. But anyway, the Gerbils ended up becoming a kind of industrial punk band called Shock Therapy. So this band is this record is from 1985. It's probably one of the first like industrial punk record. Like this came out a good 2 years before The Land of Rape and Honey by Ministry.
Yeah.
And I would go as far as to say that Al Jorgensen ripped off Shock Therapy. Like the guitar sound on X-Ray House on this record, like the opening guitar riff is pretty much the tone and the riff are not that different from Stigmata by Ministry, but this came out, like I said, this was recorded in 85 and to very little fanfare. I don't think this got very much play anywhere. Like
I don't think I ever heard it, actually.
I never heard it.
Me neither. First time.
It's basically a
Jeff, look at you with that record. No, like I want to hear it. I'm writing it down.
It's kind of a punk hardcore record, but with all like automated percussion. There is a real drummer, but the drums are like he's playing along to a drum machine and super.
Did they play behind a cage and stuff?
That
seems like when I saw Ministry.
Like inside an industrial hardcore band.
So yeah, basically these guys were like kind of degenerates from the Chicago hardcore scene, or not Chicago, for the Detroit hardcore scene. So they never really.
So even bigger degenerates.
Yes. So these guys would like they would more frequently play with the Almighty Lumberjacks of Death than they would play with bands like that. So even though they're exactly, and it was but I think this is like really good, like top tier, like like synth punk and industrial punk. It's kind of like the riffs at times are sort of like something you would hear on a Rollins band album like several years later, like pretty heavy, but also pretty distorted, and the vocals and the lyrics are also kind of Rollinsy. It was 1985, so like, but but what they were doing that no one else was doing that I'm aware of was kind of that like synthy industrial stuff that like Wax Trax later on, went on to make, a big deal out of. But I think this is a good couple. I think like probably around this time, Al Jorgensen was somewhere in between the synth pop stuff and Twitch, I would guess.
Yeah.
And
did they wear berets?
Oh, what?
Did they wear berets?
I think yes, they did. They did.
Because I was kind of worried. I'm like,
you're worried?
Yeah, no. How far did they go with this whole synth punk thing?
So hard.
No, I have seen a photo of Shock Therapy. Actually, the Gerbils, where one of them was wearing a red beret. So yeah, there definitely was a brand. Yeah.
It's a classic punk look, okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know, because all these fools are fucking wearing it now.
I mean, is this just like calling back a different era?
I know, like the French
They're
Revolution.
calling back the Gerbils. They don't even know the Gerbils. I don't know the Gerbils either, to be honest, but it's fine.
Yeah. Shock Therapy, they put out a ton of records. They got really popular in Germany, but nobody.
It's just like Out Cold. Like there's just some things that just
they were like the 80s Out Cold.
Yeah. As Matt says, the guy who was in Necros, Ron, who was in Necros and in Easy Action. He was in the Gerbils. Like I said, they have some, Shock. I think one of the guys in Shock Therapy ended up in the Rogues, who were like a oi or street punk band. You've probably seen their 7-inch. They were like a street punk band from Detroit in the late 80s. So yeah, they did definitely like. I don't think that their association with that stuff helped their career, because they were like fairly commercial sounding. They had like top of the line synthesizers and pretty good production, but yeah, they never really went anywhere. They put out like several other albums, but
I am like incredibly like ready to go find this and listen to it.
Oh yeah,
Thank you,
it's on like a one-off Detroit label, like it's on a label called Metro America, which put out a couple other like synth and industrial records in the mid 80s. But yeah, this thing disappeared, and if you weren't like listening to college or high school radio in Detroit, you never would have heard them. That's how I heard them.
And I think that's kind of like when you're saying like they had the potential to be bigger or whatever, but it's like you're not going to be big playing with like the scruffy tearaways and
exactly. Yeah.
So, it's like like we'll be talking about you in 2024 on this or whatever.
You're
gonna make it bigger than
that. They weren't like really making waves in '85.
Yeah. Playing bookies with Almighty Lumberjack.
Playing bookies, yeah, right.
Not a good career move.
What was that? What was it, Blondies and shit to that fucking club?
Yeah, they would have. Shock Therapy would have played Blondies and Bookies. They would have played Bookies, Nunzios, Menjos too. Right. If you remember that.
Yeah. Matt Weeks just got offended. Sorry, Matt.
We're friendly everyone tonight.
Yeah. You're gonna have to defend yourself in a couple of weeks. You will have your time.
Yeah. Wait your turn. Wait your turn.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Last round, right?
Yeah.
I was struggling like where to put this one in my order, because it's like it could be a little bit of a downer, but I'm not going to make it be a bit of a downer. I'm going to keep it positive. So I've like shown like 2 Japanese records, right? The Comes and that Poison record, and so really
I'm so excited about that Comes record. Oh, God.
Yeah, everyone get the Comes record. Pick it up if you like the Comes. If you've never heard the Comes before, don't get it.
Only if you like the Comes should you buy it.
Yeah, if you don't. It's not a good. That's not a good starting point. So yeah, like Japanese hardcore, like there's a couple of reasons why I got into Japanese hardcore, and like basically one guy was like kind of was one of the big reasons why I got like super interested in Japanese hardcore in the 80s. Maximum rock and roll like scene reports, man. I used to like.
Oh yeah.
You used to wait for a month, right? I mean, I was living in England, so you'd have a subscription, and you'd wait. It'd come through the letterbox, you'd open it, and I would always go to the scene reports because I wanted to read like the Japanese scene report. That was my favorite thing about Maximum Rock and Roll. And it wasn't in there every month. Sometimes you'd have to wait like 3 months or 4 months to get the scene report, and then when it came, you're like super excited. So this one guy, American guy, who was like living in Japan, like from the early days of like Japanese hardcore, like from like 80, 81, 82. He saw it all with his own eyes, and he wrote about it in Maximum Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
He passed away like just after Christmas in a motorbike accident, and it was kind of it was totally unexpected. And so anyway, this is like one record that he played on. It's like the Sick and Rose like split LP. This is like not even like a particularly great record. I'm just showing this record just like out of like just to kind of pay tribute to like him. Because he was the guy that really introduced me and thousands of people to like to like Japanese hardcore. And Roger Armstrong, we're talking about Roger Armstrong. Yeah, I mean he was there like at ground zero, like 1981, 82. He was in a band with people from Gas Tank and stuff, and like
he was in Dead Cops.
He was in Dead Cops with Jar Jar from Lip Cream. He was in Dead Cops. Right. With Jar Jar from Lip Cream and Tatsu from Gas Tank, which I mentioned Gas Tank already, right? With Poison. You know what also reminded me, when we were looking at that Comes record, and we were looking at all those flyers, I was thinking, man, I bet Roger was like at some of these gigs, these flyers that we were looking at in the, so it kind of tied it all together, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, he was definitely full circle. Yeah, exactly. So like, this is not the greatest record, Japanese hardcore record. It's important though, because it was one that like, it came out in Europe in 1988.
Well, no, that's that was one of the first like kind of that was easier to get or whatever.
Exactly.
Like I got it in Europe or whatever. I got it in Spain when I was visiting my family or whatever.
So it's important. It's an important record. Like this one, there's a few others like the
Virus,
which is also on like Jungle Hop from France. I put this out too, and like so it's not an amazing record. I mean, Rose have like a lot of other much better records.
They definitely have better.
Do. But it's like it's important in many ways, Roger, and like a lot of things that are important.
I think it was just cool to like for me reading about shit and MRI, because it was so hard to get any of that or whatever. There's so many like foreign bands would be like, hey, this sounds really cool, and this all this shit, and it's just like you're not gonna find it, like around where we were able to get it and stuff. So it's like. Well, like the stuff that was easier to get, I'm like, oh shit, this is crazy. Like I've read about Rose, and like in Sick, whatever. So it's cool.
So important to me, and it really, I mean, really, honestly, it was really one of the reasons why I came to Japan in like 1990. Just reading all these like descriptions about like shows here and the bands. I was, man, I gotta go there. I gotta see this like with my own eyes. That's why I'm living on that, basically. So
Rose was one of the few bands you actually could find in the U.S. because they're on In Your Face.
And then they did, right.
Well, they were the first, going back to that Chaos UK being the first like Japanese English band in Japan. Rose were the first Japanese hardcore band to tour Europe. So
right on. No, so when did they tour Europe? Was that in 88 or something?
It was late 80s, like late 80s. Yeah.
It's when did Gauze go to like Scotland and
that
shit?
was after that, right? A bit after that. So it was like
that's, I mean, and that's, like, because it's funny, like, thinking back, like, at that time, any kind of foreign bands coming, especially, like, in the 90s in the U.S. or whatever, there was just, like any band that came over that was from, like, Japan or from Europe or whatever, it's like, oh, fuck, we got to check them out and stuff, because there was such a, it's interesting because like everyone is like, oh, I own every Japanese record or Flexi or whatever. I own all this Italian stuff, but I own all this, and it's just like at that time, no one gave, like in the US, like everyone was fucking worried about it.
No one cared, is what I was going to say.
No one cared. Well, yeah, no one cared. So it's like, and you used to be able to find like crazy shit for like $1 or what, you know, and it was just like, oh, and again, it was like, oh, I read about this in MRR. This is awesome. You know, I'll check it out or whatever. And it was, you know, it would blow you away and stuff. But it was like no one cared. So it's interesting to see now that all the shit that no one cared about is like 300, 400 records and stuff, you know.
Yeah,
the
stuff that would make it over to the US from Japan, wasn't a lot of it, but the stuff that did make it over, you would just find at a used record store for a few bucks. Like I remember finding a Brain Death 7-inch for like $3 or $4, or a Googleplex 7-inch for a couple bucks, or Shock Troops by Acid for a couple bucks. Like
but I got Detestation for like $10 or whatever, because like, you know, it was just, it came in the record store and it was like no one, you know,
no one knew what to do with it.
Well, I mean, it was just kind of like, oh, but I mean, or like, you know, someone got the Llama LP for $2, you know, like this, they got like this shit like that. Like no one, there was no one, or, you know, like everyone was like, we're gonna go fucking watch Shelter or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
you know, which is whatever, you know, I mean, it's just, but it's like, it was just, people were more interested in other stuff here. And so now it's interesting. Well, what's the most interesting to me is when people try and like act like, oh, well, you don't know these bands and like you're not cool and shit. And it's just like, we weren't cool when we listened to all these bands like a long time ago. Like people were just not like, oh, you're into that hardcore shit or whatever. It's like, I'm into fucking emotional funk metal or whatever. You know, it's just like,
it's 24/7 spies, man.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just weird to see how that's kind of turned into like a thing, like, you know, what, like it was like the fanatics were into like Japanese shit and wanted to check it out and were into it, and then now it's like turned into this thing where it's like, oh, you don't know the fucking, you don't know this obscure flexi or whatever. Like, you know, like people were nerding out over this shit. It's just like, look, motherfucker, you probably weren't even born when fucking that, you know, shit came out.
Well, it's funny though, because when I first went to Japan in like 1990, those like things like the Gizm LP, they were already rare like in Japan.
Yeah,
so it wasn't cheap. Like I paid like $120 or whatever, like in like 1990, right? So
that's a lot of money then.
It was a lot of money, yeah.
Right. The first time I went to Japan, like the only like all this old Japanese shit was super cheap, except for Detestation, Fuckheads, and the Bastard 12-inch was expensive or whatever already, and it'd only been a couple of years.
Wow.
But it was like, but you know, that's the thing. It's like, but everything else, it was weird because like kids were like, oh, you know, I want to, you know, one of your records or whatever. I'll trade you like someone like the Combs LP for fucking, you know, a Crudos 7-inch. Like, okay, is that cool? Like, you know, I mean, like shit like that. Like they were.
I'll take it.
Well, yeah, no, it was cool. It was just like all the stuff that was like that just for Japanese. Like I just remember and like getting like all the gauze LPs except for Fuckheads for like $20 each or whatever, you know, like that. And then in the foreign stuff, like US stuff was super expensive there, but like not the Japanese stuff except for a few exceptions or whatever. So
anyway, it's
not to go off on a tangent or anything, but you know,
no, it's great. There's like I could go on for like 5 hours about all this stuff.
Yeah,
you know? So.
Yeah.
Wedge.
Yes.
Come on, Wedge. Get on the show. He's like not watching, but
he was like the Japanese hardcore ambassador in the Midwest.
I feel like I would have never heard half the shit I heard if it wasn't for Wedge.
Yeah, same with me. Like he had everything. Like when I had like 20 records, he had like 500 of them.
Yeah. Well, no, he would like, you know, was writing to people in Japan and trading and shit like from you know, a long time ago. And he's like now it's like there's stuff I'm like he's, you know, just like something that like, oh, I never heard that. He's like, yeah, it's awesome. I had like a bunch of copies of it or whatever. You know, it's like he's definitely if you had him on, he would.
My wedge was like Roger Armstrong, you know, in the 80s.
Yeah, right.
Like,
right.
So rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Right.
Roger Armstrong.
But Wedge is still here. Let's get him on the show.
Who? Wedge? Oh, Wedge. Yeah.
Okay.
The thing I was thinking of is I saw the inmates over the summer, and he was wearing like a really nice stunk shirt, and I was like,
was it the one with the pus head skull on it?
I used to have one of those.
Maybe it might have been. Yeah, I have a picture of it in my phone. I should look at it, but I'm not going to do it now. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on.
Yes.
Is it my turn?
Yes. I think so. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to talk about a Midwest for 23. Okay.
Citric Dummies.
Citric Dummies. Okay, so you can't probably see it from this, but it says Citric Do, and then Dummies is in here somewhere small. Zen and the Arcade of Beating Your Ass. So let's talk a little bit about We Love Lip Cream.
Yeah.
Our name is Nine Talks Terror. And then so now fast forward to 2023, Citric Dummies. This does not sound like exactly like Husker Du or like Nine Talks or like Lip Cream, but it definitely like it takes a fucking note from each of those bands, and it's really fucking cool. And this is a very Midwest sounding record to me. You know, Jeff and I play together in a band, and we played with them recently or a couple months ago. And man, they're just fucking good. It's a 3-piece.
The drummer of that band is fucking incredible.
Amazing, Travis.
I've never seen a guy move his hand that fast.
So good. So fucking good. And it's, you know, Drew sings and plays bass, and Pat plays guitar. Because we've just Travis and playing with us, such a good drummer, right? And just this record is just the culmination of many years of them just like plugging away and fucking loving punk and loving hardcore and loving rock and roll, honestly. And the song titles are amazing. There's one called
their lyrics are great. Yeah.
Their lyrics are amazing too. There's a song that's WOB, but it's World Full of Babies. And it's like, I live in a world full of babies. And like, I appreciate that. There's also another song called Being Male is Embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. Also very close to my heart. Like just everything that they say on this really hits home. This is a Feel It Records record.
Okay.
You know, you're completely ripped the Grant Hart artwork of you know, Zen Arcade, and then kind of threw in that reference to Nine Shocks, which, you know, if you're a Midwestern punk baby, you might like this. I think you should fucking try this. It's great. And they're great live.
That's
amazing.
new, right, Sarah?
Funny and good.
Yeah.
The lyrics are just, they're just kind of cutting, but also so. Oh wait, I was gonna show this because like this is not really what they look like. These are like AI generated images, and so you probably can't see it, but it says Citric Dummies would like to thank the following with a big blank space. Excellent record. That's my last pick.
I saw it online like this week as I was looking at online Disc Union, like new like.
Give it a try.
Yeah, you know, so I've seen that, and it was like, it was like Disc Union online. I remember it's on Feel It Records, right? And so I'm getting into Feel It Records recently, so I was like, oh,
you know, there's a lot of melodic stuff on here, but I mean, they really like. Does it sound like Husker Du? Does it sound like Nine Shocks? Not exactly. Like, you know, I feel like there's a lot of like the vocals on this. Also, I really fucking love. They can sing. They have a lot of great like. You know, hooks. The hooks are big in this record.
Nice.
But it's a very rock and roll record.
Sorry.
What?
So you said big hooks. I was saying like life sentence, but sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
that's
Like
right.
How was that?
Like Life Sentence meets Field Day by Dag Nasty.
Yeah. I don't know. Drew and everybody. Drew.
Powerful songs that will make them money and put them on the charts.
Yes. All right.
That's funny. That's crazy. Rachel's like, they figured out that Feel It Records put out a record every 10 days
Wow.
last year.
Wow.
How many records is that?
Jeff?
36.5.
36.5.
What percentage of punk records came out on Feel It Records last year?
0.0231. It was a big year for Council Records in Chicago. They put out the rest of them.
All right, beautiful. All right, Ebro, what's your last pick? Last
All
pick.
right. So, I'm gonna bring up this classic.
Oh, no way. No way.
Yeah.
Oh,
that
shit. Yeah.
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 The
Oh, my God.
Dismember.
That,
Fucking great.
It's a
song.
crowd
Fucking
pleaser.
death. Fucking
Yeah.
death.
Yeah, fucking death.
It was actually in my pile for today, too. But
Oh, was it? Yeah. Well, so no, because I saw you posted it
Oh.
or whatever, and so I'm like,
Yeah.
I was gonna, because I was
I'm putting
listening
on
to
the
it
side.
this week or
Nice,
whatever.
man.
So it is Chicago. So yeah, it's basically the Death Strike demo, which is well. So this is what like I don't get, because it's like I think maybe they like because so the Paul from Master was in Death Strike before Master or whatever, and then Master recorded like Death Strike demo was supposedly before Master,
Yes.
but then the Master unreleased album doesn't, it sounds worse than the Death Strike demo. So
right.
I'm wondering, like, did they re-record it? Maybe they did, because because Master got back together, or like he got Master back together in the late 90s or whatever. So I think maybe they re-recorded, but whatever. It's a fucking great record. If you like Hellhammer and like shit like that or whatever. I saw something saying it's like Hellhammer on crack, which probably is not too far off considering
right in the middle.
Like I could hear
It's right in the middle between Hellhammer and Repulsion, I would say.
Yeah, it's like, but it's more. I mean, it's got like that raw kind of Repulsion sound. It's just not fast, like
not as fast. Yeah,
but it's a fucking good. Again, this is like this kind of proto death metal like shit. It's like it hasn't. It's before like death metal became more of like, oh, this is what death metal is or whatever. It was like kind of like around the time that probably Death and Mantis, and all that shit was happening or whatever, and Possessed, and so it's like got all that. It's super raw sounding. It's cool that it's just called fucking death or whatever. So it's like, I don't know if that's referred to having sex with death, or that's just like death is cool, like fucking death, or like what exactly. But that's it's a jam. It's on Nuclear Blast. What's that? Yeah, that's true. It's like how do you feel about it? Like, what does fucking death mean to you? So it's like, it could mean several things. It could be all things, all people. But it's good. It's awesome that it has them fucking chilling on their fucking Cadillac or whatever.
I like that. It's I love that. I love that.
They're just like they're just a bunch of dirt bags or whatever from
that. It was almost that is fucking street metal. That.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
You know what? I think we have a theme. We have a theme.
It's a Chicago thing.
Yeah, this is all right. Like when
you don't know street metal unless you're from
when
Chicago.
you're talking about street metal, it's pictures like this. It's like dudes hanging out in the fucking alley or whatever, like not wearing makeup and leather and shit. They're wearing leather, and maybe they're wearing makeup. I don't fucking know, but like they're just,
it would be okay if they were.
Yeah, a bunch of dudes just hanging out or whatever in the alley, and like they just played some fucking death metal or whatever. You know, I mean, it's like
fucking street death metal. Yeah.
Right, street metal. So you know, so yeah, so this is jam or whatever. And I wasn't sure if you were gonna pull it out or whatever.
I had it, but because I already had like the Dismember. I was like, let's.
So how much metal? But so I did.
How much metal did you take?
How much metal can you take? So I mean, I know that but that you were saying. So I'm gonna. This is not metal. This is another hip hop Chicago album or whatever. I know that makes it. But this was the other record that I was gonna choose if you.
Another one I don't know, so I'm gonna write it down.
Well, this was the group that they were part of Ill State Assassins. They were down with EC. They were originally called Three in the Chamber. They changed it to The Chamber. It's a good hard hip hop album. Okay, I'll let it. I won't take too much time, but
Okay.
But yeah, but that's a jam.
I wrote it down.
An underrated jam. It also only came out on CD and tape in '95, so it's like some German label put it out on vinyl recently, and that's why like I was fucking that's fucking awesome. They only made 500 of them, but it's like you
got it.
Yeah, so I got it, and that's and also they put the extra like. Because they put out a couple 12 inches with remixes and shit, so they put all the extra songs on it, so it's cool. But
the chamber.
Yeah, right. Sorry.
The thing I want to bring up in this.
Hey, I squeezed that nasty field in.
Yeah, right.
Right, Jeff, you can put at least 2 in yours. Go ahead.
That Death Strike record, I would put it in the same. I would lump it in with like Repulsion. And also NYC Mayhem, which nobody ever talks about them as being a proto death metal band, but they are.
Right.
The NYC Mayhem demo.
I have not thought about that in a minute. Yeah, okay.
The master unreleased 1985 LP too or whatever.
Wait, okay, guys. Once we cut the show, then we can show our extras because I got a bunch of extras too.
I know. I'm sorry. Come
on, Ebro. Come on.
I feel like my.
Okay. All right, Jeff.
I feel like I would be dishonest if I didn't include this band because I listen to them like all the time and have for like the last 15 or 20 years. So yeah, this is like the kind of the go-to record by this band. It's Kimono My House by Spark.
You know that's my favorite one.
So yeah, I was gonna go with Desolation Boulevard. That was the other thing.
The American version, right? Which is the one to get.
Yeah. But I feel like this would be more true to myself because I do listen to this more often than the Sweet. Okay. But yeah, this is just like
Sparks.
It's like a really expertly played like hard rock album. If you cut beneath all of the really like crazily ornate lyrics and like the vocal acrobatics, it's a really solid heavy rock record. Like the bass sound on this album is like killer. It's just so heavy, and then the drumming is like Dinky Diamond, like such a good drummer. Like
who?
Yeah.
Okay, so
like a record, for a record that like has like such a like kind of arty, Roxy music type imagery, and then Ron and Russell Mael like being like a thing, like they're a meme. They're basically a living meme, and the fact that they never really did another, they only sounded like this for maybe 2 records at the most.
But kind of gets good records as well.
But yeah, what gets overshadowed is just like how good of like kind of like a heavy glam like 70s rock record it is.
So, and I don't know if you saw it, Jeff, but somebody, I think it might have been, I'm like blank, James might have talked about Jet, and then Cooch mentioned like something like
I know the band. Yeah,
it was definitely one that we've been on here, and then afterwards I've listened to a lot of it, but just like such great hard rock records.
Yeah,
just amazing. Yeah,
and they went through.
Is that Discovery Tearaways, Matt?
No, well, that's a Sparks record.
This is the most time the Scruffy Tearaways have been mentioned.
Yeah, I know. That's I'm trying to get it going. Scruffy Tearaways.
Since
you
1988.
have your audience here. This is where your audience is.
Yeah, like Sarah and I saw Sparks.
Man, it was so good.
Maybe like summer last year, and they did a grand total of one song from this record.
Not the one I wanted either, but
their most popular record, and they did one song off of it, which is hilarious. I mean, that just shows that they're 75 years old.
They do the fucking hard rock. Yeah.
And but yeah, I thought they'd at least do two songs off of it, but no, they went with one.
So they do like This Town Ain't Big Enough for the.
Yep, that's the one they did.
That's the one they did.
Beat the Clock. Did they do Beat the Clock?
They didn't do.
That's not on that
record.
record.
They do Beat the Clock.
They did it? I don't remember. I thought they did a different song from that record. I thought they did Number One in Heaven.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
that's a good song. That's a good one.
Yeah. Beat the Clock was one of the first Spark songs I ever heard because it was like a big disco hit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When you used to go to the disco.
So I think Barbecuity is on that record, right?
Yeah, it is.
Barbecuity, for anyone who is not familiar with Sparks, you should go and find that. You can find it on YouTube. Barbecuity has the hardest intro, that bass sound that you're talking about. Like that intro, like into the softest song. It is just everything about that is right.
Yeah, the bass sound on that record is incredible. It's like really, kind of heavy and harsh, but like then.
I'm glad you picked that. I have thought twice now about bringing Sparks onto this, but I haven't yet. But maybe next time. So yeah.
I mean, for me, they still fall into that like Ultravox category a little bit, whereby I only I knew the hits when I was a kid, and like you'd see them on top of the pops, and they'd scare you a little bit, and then and then I never bought any of their records, of course, like coming up through punk and heavy metal, and then it's like it wasn't until like decades later people start talking about the Sparks, and it's like blah 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 blah, and then like I need to kind of go back.
Kimono's a record to get, and
I like
this documentary is so great.
I'm halfway through it. Actually. Yeah.
I barely remember Sparks from the 80s. They were they barely registered in the US. Like I'd heard a couple of their songs, and then like maybe in the late 90s a guy I was in a band with played them for me. I was like, God, this is ridiculous. How can you listen to this crap? And then a few years later, I'm listening to them constantly. But actually that guy who I knew recommended me, he went on to have a career kind of ripping them off. His name was Andrew WK.
He was in a hardcore band, right? And he put out a split single on the label that I used to work for.
Yeah. I was in that band too.
You were in that band with him?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the name of the band?
Cathode.
Cathode with a K, right?
Yeah.
You worked for Denied a Custom, Mike?
No, MCR.
And MCR.
MCR.
Oh, you guys did I didn't even realize you did a record on MCR. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Very bad.
Small world.
I was like, Denied a Custom had like employees? Like,
I mean,
I'm joking because
when I say worked for, I mean, you know, I basically got the opposite of being paid. You know.
Yeah.
That's right.
You got paid in cathode at 7 inches.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Andrew WK was he introduced Sparks to me, and I thought it was funny. I thought it was terrible when he played it for me, but it was.
But then you grew to love it, just like everyone else.
Yeah, I hope I
Like,
grow to love them because they haven't clicked with me yet, but I'm sure they will at some point.
I think,
If they don't, that's okay. But
it's
they're
not
great.
fine, but it's like, you know,
Mike,
especially
look
that
up Barbecuity. Look it up.
Will do. Check it out when you're looking at Mud. And what else do we recommend? Mud, Tiger Feet.
Yes,
Mud, Tiger Feet.
And Sparks Barbecuity. Those are
there you go.
two takeaways from the Glam
and re-listen to the Life Sentence record. That's my homework.
Yes.
Right? So,
Yeah.
Both life sentence
Takeaways
records.
from tonight.
Both.
yes.
And listen to Citric Dummies record if you have not.
There you go. All right. I think this is the longest episode we've done so far. There you go.
We did it! Chicago made the longest episode ever.
Yeah, right. Happy
Maybe.
New Year, motherfuckers.
Maybe. I'll have to double check.
Yeah.
That. It might be the
Violent
one with
ramp
Echo.
7-inch.
Oh, shit.
Wait,
Had to-
when we
had to speak-
sign off, then we'll talk about all these other records we
Yeah,
have.
we're only halfway through, right?
Right. Yeah, right.
Again.
Yeah.
I thought you said. Wait, I thought you said 20 records, not 5.
15 records. All right, it's been a great show. Had a lot of fun. This is the way to go in 2024. Have fun talking about records. Let me introduce next week's show just before we sign off. Next Friday, I'm excited about next week. Got Kevin from Toskos.
Yeah, that
Let's
record
talk
is
about-
so good.
Probably one of the best records from last year, right? Tom, General Speech. Get your Comes records from Tom.
Yes.
When he gets them. And Ryoji from No Norms Records. First time on the show. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a good show. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you what do we do? The notification bell,
Smash
right?
the like.
Notification bell. All right, I got to go somewhere. I'll be sticking around just for. I got to go somewhere for a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
then I'll be back. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a good time.
Bye.
Bye. Until next time. Stay healthy and stay
metal.
street metal.